1 p.m. and a quorum being met, I will call to order the Tuesday, September 30th, 2025 meeting of the Plymouth Select Board. Please join the board in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board after notifying the chair, subject to the reasonable requirements of the chair, so as not to interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair will inform other attendees of any recordings. We are aware of recording by the local scene, which will be broadcast on cable network and the YouTube platform. Pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 28, 2025, this meeting will be conducted via remote means and in person. Members of the public who wish to watch this meeting may do so in the following manner. Tune into the local scene government access cable channels Comcast 9 or Verizon 47, or watch the meeting as it's aired live, or watch it on the local scene website. There's also a link to the Zoom webinar, which is available on the town's website. At this time, we'll turn towards our agenda items. First, I'd like to welcome the police chief to lead us in the police department promotions and swearing-in ceremony. Chief?
Mr. Chairman, thank you for the opportunity tonight to allow me to introduce you to our latest promotions and 2 new hires. Appreciate your time. First up would be Captain Victor Mark Higgins. Captain Higgins has been a member of the Plymouth Police Department since 2005. As a patrol officer, he served as a patrol and a narcotics canine handler. He was promoted to sergeant in 2015 and assigned as a patrol supervisor. In 2019, he was promoted lieutenant and worked as the shift commander. And in February 2023, Captain Higgins was reassigned to lead the training division. He is a veteran of the U.S. Coast Guard and is currently pursuing a bachelor's degree at Curry College. He currently oversees the operations division. It's also worth noting he's the son of retired Plymouth Police Lieutenant Victor Higgins. He's in the audience tonight. Lieutenant Daniel Hurd. Lieutenant Hurd has been a sworn member of the Plymouth Police Department since 2014. As a patrol officer, he served as both a field training officer and as a street crimes officer. In 2023, he was promoted to the rank of sergeant and worked as a patrol supervisor on the day shift. Lieutenant Hurd is currently assigned as the 4 to 12 shift commander. Sergeant Alex Smolinski. Sergeant Smolinski has been a member of the Plymouth Police Department since 2017, which he served in the patrol division. In 2021, she was appointed as a school resource officer and was assigned to the Plymouth South High School with a K-9 Baja. She is a member of the department's community connection team and is the liaison with the Cedarville Steering Committee. Sergeant Smolinski is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, and she is currently assigned to the midnight to 8 shift. And her father-in-law is in the audience tonight as well, retired police officer Stephen Smolinski. Sergeant Gary Coyer. Sergeant Coyer has been a member of the Plymouth Police Department since 2008, serving in the patrol division. He was an original member of the department's field training program and attended motorcycle training, but unfortunately an injury prohibited him from completing the course. Sergeant Coyer is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and currently assigned to the day shift. Sergeant Robert Shaw. Sergeant Shaw has been a member of the police department since 2015, where he served in the patrol division and held positions as field training officer and a mountain bike officer. In 2021, he was reassigned to the detective division, where he worked in the general crimes unit. Sergeant Shaw is a member of the department's community connection team and is the liaison with the downtown steering committee. He is currently assigned to the 4 to midnight shift. Officer Callahan Gibbs. Officer Gibbs graduated from the Plymouth Police Academy on September 5th of this year. He is a U.S. Army veteran and was previously employed by the Plymouth County Sheriff's Department. Officer Gibbs is currently assigned to a field training officer on the 4 to midnight shift. Officer Lexi Afsa. Officer Afsa graduated from Plymouth Police Academy again on September 5th of this year. She is a 2023 graduate of the Eastern Gateway Community College and was previously employed as an office manager in her family's business. Officer Afsa is currently assigned to a field training officer on the 4 to midnight shift. Now we'll conduct the swearing in.
Good evening, officers. Congratulations. If you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will bear true faith and allegiance to and will uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States of America and the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and that I will fairly and equitably execute the laws thereof with the extent of my authority and jurisdiction, so help me God. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully and impartially discharge and perform all the duties incumbent upon me as a police officer of the Town of Plymouth Police Department. And I will obey and be bound by such rules and regulations as now are or may be from time to time established for the government of the Town of Plymouth Police Department. So help me God. One more paragraph. I state your name. Hereby accept the position of your rank in and for the Town of Plymouth Police Department for the Town of Plymouth. Congratulations.
If I may, Representative Michelle Badge is in the audience today and would like to say a few words.
Thank you all so much for having me. I'm Representative Badger. On behalf of myself and Representative Lenatra, we wanted to congratulate you on your promotions and your being sworn into the Plymouth Police Force. I'm so grateful for all of you and all of your service to our community, there's my words, and all that you're doing every single day. We have a little something for you, and I think we're gonna go down the hall and give it to you, but a citation that comes directly from both, we have the Senate from Senator Fernandez, and myself and Kathy Lenatra have a House citation for you just to commend the hard work and dedication that you all put in every single day, and I'm just very grateful, so thank you. Congratulations.
Captain Higgins, you may lead them out of the room. Again, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to thank you and the rest of the board for your time tonight. Have a great night.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you to all the officers who were promoted and sworn in tonight. We appreciate it. And let's give them another round of applause. At this time, we'll take a 5-minute recess to allow for folks to mill about the room, go take pictures with their family. We'll be back at approximately 6:16 p.m. Thank you, folks. We'll return to our agenda now. There we are. Start with licenses. We have a couple of one-day wine and malt licenses, one-day all alcohol licenses, amplified music permits, and a common victualler new owner, and a licenses in conjunction with a liquor license. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move them as presented.
Motion has been made by Mr. Quintal. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it's unanimous. All right. Moving on to administrative notes. We have 5 administrative notes. Pleasure of the board.
Move them as presented.
Mr. Quintal has made the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Is there any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are unanimous. All right, that moves us into our agenda proper. The first item on our agenda is the Airport Community Advisory Committee. We have one-year term open for a Plymouth resident. We have 10 applicants. The application materials are in your packet. I will call them, the applicants up in the order in which they're listed here on our agenda. First is Michael Anderson. Is Michael in the room? Is Michael online? All right. We will move on to Alan Costa. Is Alan Costa in the room? Mr. Costa, if you wouldn't mind coming up and introducing yourself and giving us some info about why you're interested in this committee. Could you put your microphone on? Make sure the green light's on.
I moved out in 1987 for 27 years to take new jobs and life adventures, and I moved back to Massachusetts, to Plymouth, in 2019. My wife and I moved back. I just recently retired after a 45-year career in the commercial insurance industry, primarily in management and specifically in risk management. Since returning, I'm an elected 2-term town meeting member representing Precinct 4, which is Chiltonville and the hospital area. My personal priorities for the town are continued focus on our growth and our infrastructure. I believe my corporate experience, together with an understanding of the committee's responsibilities, would benefit both the town and the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Mr. Costa, do you presently have an opinion about how the airport is running in Plymouth?
I know that the town meeting will be voting on the airport runway 624 reconstruction, and that the FAA has provided a significant amount of money for that reconstruction. I attended the advisory committee meeting last week, and I support their agreement that they should approve that.
Okay, and do you, as you stand before us now, do you have any opinions about whether the airport is running well or running poorly or anything in between?
I do know that the airport comes under the general administration of the town, and unlike our harbor master that makes a lot of money with working on the moorings, the sales of our jet fuels and aviation fuels are the main source, leasing hangars and others are also revenue increases there. My focus initially would be to look for additional sustainable revenue through concessions, additional fuel sales, additional lease arrangements, not only for hangar space, but also for multi-use or office space in that large area there.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Mr. Costa, what do you see as the priorities for the CAC?
The priorities right now
Yes.
are to look and see what's in front of us. The FAA has designated the airport as the airport runway right now, 20 years old, has exceeded its lifespan. They graded it as a 50 right now, which if it goes any lower, it could potentially be non-usable. The FAA's and the state government have come in and offered majority of the monies to replace that with $400,000 of town money to be spent on this runway project right now. I do believe that the runway has remained flat over the years as far as flights in and out, and what the growth is primarily from concessions, fuel sales, and other hangar and multi-use space that they're leasing right now.
And just a quick follow-up question. Do you have any ideas on how to engage the community in some of the issues that are occurring at the airport?
I did attend the advisory committee meeting last week, and I did see a lot of community residents there with valid concerns with regards to the noise, the environment, and the potential and declining property values there. I see that side of it also. I live 2 blocks from the hospital. I also hear the noise daily from helicopters coming and going in and out of the hospital on a daily basis. We have noise, we have traffic that's up there, and I do believe that moving forward here, we've got to come up with some sustainable but yet responsible oversight.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Costa? Mr. Cohen?
Obviously, there's an airport, and there's a neighborhood around the airport. If you attended the last meeting, have you attended any other meetings?
No, I
of
did
the
not.
Airport Commission or the Airport Advisory?
No, I have not.
Okay. So obviously, if your thoughts on this other equal component to the functionality of the Plymouth Municipal Airport is the neighborhood, the functionality of that. Having attended one meeting, you've obviously touched on some of the concerns. Is there any thoughts that you have on improving the circumstance?
Primarily listening to the community residents and listening to their concerns. I do believe that Plymouth Airport has a strict oversight by the FAA and what it can do and what it can't do as a B2 runway, as a B2 airport right now. I do believe that what I read as far as growth of the airport, it's remained flat as far as numbers of planes coming in with, I think, 65,000 aircraft movements annually, that has remained flat over the years. I do not see this growth as something personally, as something that we're going to bring regional jets in soon, because they need a runway that's at least 5,800 feet long. Even the largest private jets, which Oprah and everybody use, need 5,800 to 6,000 feet to land. I do believe it's going to remain the same. It's just a matter of maintaining the infrastructure there, and that would be my goal, and trying to get more revenue so we not adapt service to the town.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Costa.
Thank you.
Next on our agenda is Levi Fisher. Is Levi in the room? I'm hearing that Levi is on Zoom. We're bringing Levi into the room. Levi, if you could unmute yourself.
Hello?
Go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay. I'd like to withdraw my application.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for your time. We appreciate your application.
Thank you.
Is Thomas Kazari in the room? Don't see Thomas. Is Thomas on Zoom? All right. This is going well. Is Ken Kessel in the room? Yes. Excellent. Mr. Kessel, come on up.
Good evening, I'm Ken Kessel, Precinct 11. I'm a current town meeting member. I've lived in Plymouth for the past 30-plus years, and I will say that I absolutely love this town, and I want especially in West Plymouth. I want everyone to love this town. It's important to me for the quality of life angle, and I'm not anti-airport. I'm actually a private pilot. I got my private pilot back in my early 20s because I thought it would be a cool way to pick up women. And it worked because I've been married for over 30 years. Everybody wants to see their own house from the air. So, and I'm not against airport expansion either, but it has to be smart airport expansion. Everyone's worried about Tom Cruise coming in with his 727. And we're also worried that if you give an inch, they'll take another inch, they'll take another inch, and through baby steps, our nice little bucolic airport will become Warwick. And I don't know how many people have flown into Providence Airport, but when you're coming into Providence Airport on a Southwest jet, you can see the people on the ground, you can see their houses, you can see people, you know, with this jet coming over their roof. And right now, the people that are not in West Plymouth might not be experiencing this, but when you bring in the bigger jets, and it needs a longer glide path, it's going to be over your roof next. And that's what we're worried about. It's not so much taking the infrastructure that we have and redoing it and making it safe. We're all for safety. We just want guarantees that those larger jets will never come in and ruin the quality of life of Plymouth. Because if it's not ruining your life now, believe me, it will. And all those fumes and all that garbage that those planes spew, especially if they have a problem and have to release fuel, it's going to happen over our heads, over our community. We're not going to want that. So we're not anti-expansion. The other problem that I'm hearing from a lot of the constituents, especially in the West Plymouth neighborhood, is the touch and goes. They're relentless. And I'm all for Alpha One, and I'm all for the other schools there, and I'm glad that they're busy. They're doing great business. But they also need to be a good neighbor. And right now, they're not being a good neighbor. They could care less. Those planes are incessant, one after the next, after the next, after the next. You try having a graduation party in your backyard with the constant airplanes taking off, taking off, taking off. There are some changes that I would recommend if I was on the CAC, and a lot of that would be, you know, in a no-wind situation or a very light wind situation, changing the default runway. Take off over the industrial park. Nobody would care, and you would cut the amount of noise complaints in half. You know, there's a lot of things we can do to work with the community. Everybody wants to be heard. And, you know, the people that are complaining have legitimate complaints, and they feel that they're not being heard. So those are the two things that I'm wanting to join the CAC to help further for West Plymouth. So, you know, I'm a business owner. I've owned a business. You know, I've worked for small, medium, large businesses. You know, I understand everything from the business perspective, but I also understand everything from the constituent perspective. So that's my argument.
Thank you, Mr. Kessel. Mr. Canty.
Mr. Kessel, you've already sort of unprompted partially answered this question, but do you currently have an opinion about whether the Plymouth Airport is run well or not? And is there anything in particular that you would change as you stand here before us if you had the ability to do so?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do a pretty good job running that airport. Again, I was a private pilot. I actually got my private pilot credentials through training at Alpha One. So I know how that airport is run. For an uncontrolled airport, it's actually run really well. I think the businesses there do pretty well. I frequent Plain Jane's, and you know, I think they do a pretty good job at what they're doing. You know, and I think the community overall supports that. For changes, I think I've mentioned some of the changes that I'd make.
Right. You use the term uncontrolled. That's just to be clear on the terms.
We don't have a tower.
Correct.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Right. And we don't want the tower.
Correct. I understood what you meant, I just didn't know if others would, so I just wanted to clarify. Okay, thank you, Mr. Kessel.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Thanks so much, Mr. Kessel. So have you attended any of the CAC meetings?
I have not attended any of the CAC meetings to this point. Back when they were creating the CAC, I saw that they had stacked it, and this is my personal opinion, but it looked like it was stacked with expansion pro, whatever you want to do type of people that were just going to sign off on whatever the airport wanted to do. So when this seat came up, I felt it was a good opportunity to maybe, I wasn't available to run for the first CAC, so I felt this would be an opportunity to maybe put in somebody that represents the abutters.
Okay. And then just a quick follow-up question. What do you see as the priorities of the CAC right now?
Well, I mean, the priority, of course, is safety for those on the ground as well as those in the air, and the nearby church and schools and things like that would always be the priority, but it's quality of life. And that's really what I'm here to push, is quality of life in Plymouth. We love living in Plymouth. Plymouth is the place to be. When I moved down here 30 years ago, if you didn't get something to eat by 9 o'clock at night, you weren't eating. And now, we are the place to be, and we want to keep it that way.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
Yeah, so similar question that I had for the previous applicant, and that is obviously we have an airport, and it has its potential and the things that we want to see thrive there, but we also have a neighborhood and its potential and its thrivability. You've kind of outlined where you are, but obviously if you have attended a few meetings, it's been a little bit tense at times, and I was just thought about your ideas on having better communication. What would you be advocating in that capacity?
So I have been to some of the airport meetings, not the CAC meetings, in the past. And, I think it's important, we have a lot of these group emails that go around, save our airport, save our town, all that, and I do communicate in some of that, but I think we need to have regular meetings with some of the abutters as well, like the Precinct 11 and some of the other parts of West Plymouth, and be able to champion some of their concerns.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Next on our list is Lisa Lantang.
Hi, Lisa Lantang, West Plymouth Precinct 10, the CAC. The discrepancy between our expectations and the current makeup of the CAC has led to concerns about whether the voices of actual residents are being prioritized. Many of us hoped that the committee would serve as a platform for our local input and advocacy, not just as a forum for those with vested interests in the airport. The lack of transparency from the Airport Commission and manager is relentless. With no transparency, we wonder how the CAC is supposed to advise on anything. There are no action items with the CAC, there's no follow-up, there's no communication with the public. There's no way for the public to reach the CAC besides going through the airport manager. The frustration of the neighbors who do come to speak is great. Many don't come back after the way they're treated at the meetings. At this point in time, well, I originally applied because of the need for more resident representation, but at this point in time, I'm compelled to withdraw my application from the CAC. But I do ask that you consider the neighbors most impacted by the activities of the airport, not just those with airport qualifications. If I may suggest applicants, Lorraine Ramsey, Jeffrey Nardone, who didn't know he had to be here tonight, so we're hoping he hops on Zoom, and Ken, who's also a resident impacted by the airport. Jeff Nardone showed great fortitude in the last CAC meeting, pushing through the dismissiveness of his questions, and I believe he would be a positive addition to the CAC. Lorraine Ramsey attends every single airport meeting, every single CAC meeting, and she works diligently to understand and ask thoughtful and intelligent questions, even when she is consistently discouraged and dismissed. She would also represent the neighbors well. I thank you for your time, and that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Lantain. Thank you for applying. We'll consider your remarks as we make this appointment. Is Jeffrey Nardone?
I'm not
It sounds
sure
like he's
if
not in the room.
He's not in the room. I just don't know if he was trying to get on Zoom.
Is he on Zoom? All right. Well, we can certainly come back if he does join us on Zoom. Is Cole Prucha in the audience? Is Cole Prucha on Zoom? All right. Lorraine Ramsey?
Oh, well, I'm Lorraine Ramsey. I live in West Plymouth. I'm not a native, unfortunately. I've been visiting Plymouth since the 1980s. I inherited my property, and I loved West Plymouth. It was wonderful. I was a hiker in the forest. It was everything about it was wonderful. So it's changed over the course of time, like everything, of course, and I had some concerns. I have been attending all the airport commission meetings for the past year and a half. I have the notes, and I ask a number of questions. I really try not to repeat myself, but if I got the answers, I wouldn't have to keep repeating the same question. Anyway, I think both sides have legitimate issues and arguments. I've just reviewed the master plan, and I'm wondering if people on the CAC even read that. And the airport website, I've gone through that meticulously. And unfortunately, it's very misleading, some of the information on there, and I'd like to verify that, which is hard to do sometimes. But anyway, I'm willing to work on that. There's both sides have very good arguments. But you know, the airport, in my view, I could be wrong, is a community service, okay? It was there for med flight, police, firefighting, air search and rescue, anti-terrorism, home for the local aviators and their planes, which worked out well. It was a very functioning airport. In fact, up until the last expansion of the runway, I never knew planes were there. I'm 2 miles from the airport. But now in the summer, just sitting in my peaceful yard, I can't hear birds, well, except the birds in the airplanes, if you want to consider it sort of a mechanical bird. And I do think there has to be solutions, compromise, and negotiation, which I don't feel is happening. I have an idea there seems to be no regulation on the businesses in the airport, and I'm trying to figure out who controls the businesses on the airport, who's in charge, The airport commissioner does a wonderful job. They're dedicated, they've been doing it for years, and they know what they're doing. I have a question about the land leases, the hangar leases, a number of issues, and it's probably not my business, but maybe it is, I'm not sure. But I think there has to be an oversight, which I'm not sure about. Solutions would be, I don't know, private jets are seem to be very popular right now in a lot of airports. A friend of mine lives outside of Hanscom Field in Bedford. The private jets came in, and I heard this because, rumor has it, the sports teams, whatever, nobody wanted to fly into Logan. It's much easier to fly into a smaller airport with your private jet. Private jets, I don't know if they're here to stay or not, but they're polluting. There's a lot of issues with them. So limiting, no more private jets. When I first moved, in the 80s, there were no jets at the airport. It was a regular little airport, you know, with little planes. It was fine. And all of a sudden now, private jets are, I think it's, don't quote me, I don't know, but it's lucrative to get private jets in, okay? Except for the people on the ground. I mean, these jets, I was at Plain Jane's, I eat there quite often, and we were sitting outside, and I had a friend from overseas visiting, so I thought I would take her there. A private jet was refueling. The fumes were toxic. Planes were going continually during that hour from 12:30 to 1:30. I think it was a Sunday. We couldn't even have a conversation. I was a little bit embarrassed. In fact, she even said, oh, those fumes are terrible. So there's an issue there. I think that the hours of operation of the flight schools have grown tremendously. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's private pilot licenses. They're not even, you know, training pilots for commercial aircraft. So anyway, I don't know why they can't have regular hours and maybe have night flying, night training, a couple of nights a month, or maybe have ground training, so at least the neighbors know. But they should, every hour in the hour, I mean, it's just not nice. I think that Pro Airways, which is a jet charter service, which flies all over the world. I mean, I think they're housed here, but they can grow as well. I think Alpha One can probably grow more, and more jets are taking over. So I don't know. That's my view. I don't know what I can do, but I think negotiation is, and you know, I don't know if the airport's an economic driver. I thought it was a service, as opposed to being an economic driver of the community, or develop all that land, whatever. So I think the noise is a public nuisance, environmental issues, and health issues. So they have to be addressed. That's what
Thank you, Ms. Ramsey. Are there questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Ms. Ramsey, you've expressed some, but do you have any particular things that you would like to change as you stand before us in terms of the operation of the airport?
Yeah.
And an opinion about whether or not the airport is run well or not at this time as you stand before us?
I think it's run well, but I'm thinking of the motives behind the people that run it. I know it's a lot of them are like businessmen from the community over the course of the years, and that's fine. But I still don't think the goal of this little airport was to be a business operation or a for-profit business, okay? With land developing, renting out hangars, land leases, who rents out the hangars? And things are going on in hangars, which I think, I'm going to be run out of town. But the FAA, you're not supposed to have certain events in hangars, and I think that's not right. But anyway, that's my opinion. I could be wrong. But I think there has to be questions asked and oversight.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Ms. Ramsey, thank you so much. I'm not going to ask you the question I've been asking the other candidates about, our applicants, about whether or not you've ever been to a CAC meeting, because I think you live at the airport. You're at every meeting that I've ever attended. There
It's
you
an
are.
important issue. It's just
Right.
so important
It is.
for the people on the ground.
Can tell that it's very important to you, too, and I appreciate that. I do have one question for you, though. What would you do to improve the way the CAC is currently operating? Because you mentioned that you didn't think that it was operating as efficiently as it could, but what would you bring to it that would help improve the way it operates?
I think more diverse viewpoints. A lot of the people, and I don't know why some people are there, and even non-voting members. It's okay. I don't mind. If that's what they want to do, fine. But you need more people that have a different view. I think most of those people are pro-growth in Plymouth, pro-expansion, get those jets in. It's all good. It's good for some, but not everybody. And I think the majority of people around the airport and all over Plymouth, I think you have to respect them as well, you know.
Lorraine, just to build on what Deb was talking about in the question that I've asked the previous applicants, and that is, obviously, you have an airport and an airport advisory group. You've been able to attend all of those meetings along with the Airport Commission, because the meetings I've attended, I've seen you there. So you obviously have that experience of watching these boards and the board that you're applying for. And obviously, there is the airport and its responsibilities in the neighborhoods and their interests. And how do you think you could help have them work better together?
Well, I think the public has to be more aware. I'm sort of like, I feel like I'm fighting the battle on my own, because sometimes I'm the only person at the airport commission meetings. I think the people don't know. I mean, there has to be more community outreach, I think, for people to come forward and voice their opinions. If I wasn't there every month, I wouldn't know what was going on, because I don't think there's anything in the local news. I don't do social media for various reasons. So there has to be other ways, even flyers in mailboxes, or flyers at the public library, or downtown in the businesses, community billboards, health clubs. I mean, there's lots of places things can be advertised so people know what's going on. I don't know if you can do mailers in mailboxes or something like that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, Ms. Ramsey.
Thank you.
The last person on our list is Daniel Schism. Is Daniel in the room? Is Daniel on Zoom? Seems like he is. Go ahead, Mr. Schism. You'll need to unmute yourself, but then introduce yourself.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Very, very little. Could you move closer to the microphone?
I will. I'll try to speak up. Thank you very much.
Much better. Go ahead.
No, hi. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm a recent resident here in Plymouth, having married decades ago up on the North Shore, left Massachusetts, but have come back now to Plymouth the last 4 years. Recently retired in the springtime, so I now have more time that I'd like to dedicate to community issues, where I feel I can make a contribution. My professional experience has been in energy, development issues. I'm very familiar with typical development issues revolving around complicated projects, whether it's land issues, permitting issues, local, state, federal, community issues. These are things that I have normally dealt with in my career. I'm really very gratified to hear that a lot of people have that same concern that have spoken. It is very critical that whatever is happening with the airport, how it happens is very, very important. Engaging with the local community, with the neighbors is hugely important. All developments, whether it's just the operations or future development, expansion of the airport, it comes down to a number of key issues for people that live nearby. The noise, traffic, property values, how are they involved? Do they have a say? And I really think that as a woman who just spoke now, spoke very, I think, eloquently about being involved locally, very critical. I think my skill sets have been really focused on how we can move things forward, but nothing really can move forward without engaging with the local community, getting their buy-in, hearing from them, being very transparent, and really come to a solution to the problems. And there will be problems along the way, but I think I find people to be very open to hearing from one another and coming to a consensus as to how to move forward. So I think my skill sets in terms of working on development issues, I think can be useful to the airport. I think it'll be very exciting to work with the Airport Commission and provide my expertise and guidance to the best I can with the rest of the commission members. So I really look forward to having the opportunity to perhaps participate in a more concrete way in the community here in Plymouth.
Thank you. Are there questions from the board? Mr. Canty?
Mr. Schism, as you appear here before us, do you presently have an opinion about how the operations of the Plymouth Municipal Airport are going and whether it is run well or not?
No, I do not. As I said, I've been here now living in Plymouth 4 years, been just recently retired, had a heavy travel schedule, but I do know the airport has been here a very long time, has been engaged in a number of pretty high-profile developments in the community, but as far as whether it has been run well, it's been here a very long time. I think that speaks for itself. Certainly would love to be involved more deeply in terms of moving the airport forward in terms of its involvement with the community and perhaps its expansion and, continuing development to bring in more businesses, more revenue to the community. So I think I'll look forward to learning more about how the airport runs.
Thank you, Mr. Schism.
Other questions? Ms. Iaquinto?
Thank you, Mr. Schism. Just two questions. First, have you ever attended one of the CAC meetings?
No, I have not.
Okay. And what do you see as the priority of a group like that, of the CAC?
Well, I mean, to understand what is really going on and why, and to be very transparent in all activities in terms of the airport. I've been involved in a lot of high-profile developments over the course of my career, and I really can't say enough about local involvement, staying involved, being involved, telling people what's going on, listening and following up, and making sure there's active dialogue between the project participants, and here in this case would be the airport, and the local residents. The local residents are just critically important. I mean, I just can't say enough about that. That's been my experience throughout my career to gain acceptance to projects. And I think even with controversial efforts, there's no way people can come to the table, reach consensus as to what is the best path forward. And I think I can help in that regard.
Thank you very much.
Further questions? Mr. Cohen?
The same question I had for the other applicants. Any thoughts on, you have an airport, you have a neighborhood, how would you, in your capabilities, in your interests, improve that dialogue between the two on that board?
Well, keep it up, do it often, and maintain open communications. And as I think the lady that spoke before me, just open communications, advertise, solicit people. It's not hard, it's not complicated, it's not expensive to do that. This is a local airport, been here a long time, and it's not going anywhere. But I think the people that live in the area around the airport are the real stakeholders here. They need to be involved, and there needs to be outreach and continued outreach to make sure they understand what's happening and to hear what their concerns are. And I think, given that, I think consensus can be reached in terms of the best path forward, and I look forward to trying to be involved in that.
Thank you.
Further questions? Hearing and seeing none, I'll ask again, have any of the applicants that did not appear shown up on Zoom, Jade? All right. Well, I'll bring it back to the board then. So we, just to update, Mr. Fisher and Ms. Lantang withdrew their candidacies. We had 4 candidates, other than that, appear: Mr. Costa, Mr. Kessel, Ms. Ramsey, and Mr. Schism. This is a single one-year term, so each board member will get a single vote. So I'll just go down the roll and ask each board member for whom they're voting. I'll start with Mr. Cohan. Who is your vote for?
Lorraine Ramsey.
All right, one for Ms. Ramsey. Mr. Quintal?
Lorraine Ramsey.
2 for Ms. Ramsey. Mr. Canty?
Daniel Schism.
Mr. Schism. Ms. Iaquinto?
Elaine Ramsey.
Elaine Ramsey. And I will vote for Mr. Kessel. That is 3 for Ms. Ramsey. Congratulations, you've been appointed to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Thank you to all who applied. I'm sure we'll have plentiful opportunity for you to volunteer in the community elsewhere. This is a hard decision. There were a lot of great candidates, and we appreciate you all. So thank you all. And don't forget, Ms. Ramsey, that you'll need to get sworn in. Perhaps the town clerk can do that as she sits behind you. You'll need to be sworn in before you can participate in the meetings. Thank you all. All right, we'll move on to the next agenda item, which is a town meeting article. This is a CPC article, Article 18. I saw that Mr. Bradley was here. Mr. Bradley, are you going to be joining the presenter, who is also with us, Ms. Amy Belmore from Habitat for Humanity?
Good evening, Ed Bradley, Chairman of the Community Preservation Committee in Plymouth. Tonight, we're talking about Article 18, which is an affordable housing article, Habitat for Humanity. And the committee had voted 5 in favor, 3 opposed, and no abstentions to appropriate $70,000 to the Habitat for Humanity of Greater Plymouth for the purpose of constructing a single-family home at 31 Strand Avenue in Manamet, with an affordable housing deed restriction to count towards the subsidized housing inventory in perpetuity. I was able to visit this home last Tuesday night, and it's a beautiful 3-bedroom home. It fits in perfectly in the neighborhood in both the style, architecture, and the building components, as well as the colors. It's got a nice yard, especially with some young children. And fortunately, there was a shed left behind on the property that the volunteers were able to totally rehab. So it's a home that's going to also have a storage shed in the backyard, which is probably an added extra for the family.
Thank you. Ms. Belmore, do you have anything to add?
I do. Thank you so much. I was hoping just to take a minute to share a little bit about how Habitat for Humanity works in terms of our model, and then give you a little bit more detail in terms of the actual home that we are in fact building at 31 Strand Avenue. So just real quick, 28-year history operating in our service area, which includes Plymouth and 5 surrounding towns. We serve a population of people who are underserved. We serve those who are making 30 to 60% area median income compared to the typical 80% population who has access to affordable housing. And as Mr. Bradley mentioned, these homes do have deed restrictions in perpetuity, so there's lasting affordability on each of our Habitat homes, and that is done with a regulatory agreement together with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. That's a state agency, as you know. And our homeowners are income qualified, as I mentioned, in that AMI category. They become affordable home owners, meaning they're paying a mortgage over a 30-year term. One of our most frequently asked questions is, are these homes gifted? And they are not. They are mortgage holders. And in addition to paying that mortgage, they are also putting in sweat equity hours. That's a Habitat lingo for volunteering putting their own hands to work on building their own home alongside the volunteers that we use as the majority of our construction labor force. So the way in which Habitat is able to keep the costs of our homes low is to use community volunteers and trade partners who are providing discounts and pro bono services to really lower the cost of our homes to the point where we're delivering them at 50 to 60% the cost of a for-profit developer. And so there's real return on investment there in terms of when we come to CPC or when we went to the Affordable Housing Trust, we're really leveraging our nonprofit status and those dollars to get more and stretch the dollars. And we're quite proud of that work and the impact that we have on the families that we serve. And so I'm just going to all right, Jade, must be smarter than the remote. How do I do this? Oh, is it not on? Oh, there we go. All right, well, I just whipped through those bullets, so I'm going to just keep going, and I won't take too much of your time. There we go. Okay. So I mentioned the nonprofit status and our volunteer model for keeping costs down and really stretching those dollars. We work with a community bank, a local bank, to hold and service the mortgages in the long term. And we also operate a Brush with Kindness program. I always like to mention that in a public forum because it's an ongoing opportunity for low-income families in the community who might need critical home repairs. And that's a lot of aging in place and disability access and weatherization, things of that nature. So that's something that we're doing on an ongoing basis in addition to the work of building homes. And then this is a photo of the house as it looks right now. This is, the exterior is finished, actually, as of today, so is the wallboard. So the inside is completely sheetrocked, so we're a little over halfway through the build of this house. It is a $70,000 CPC request to support the construction. 3-bedroom, about 1,300 square feet. It is This is now going through the local action unit or local initiative underneath the local initiative program, LAU and LIP program that you've probably heard, and that's a pathway through the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities in a way to get this unit counted on the subsidized housing inventory. We use a mix of financing, so this is obviously municipal funding that we're requesting here, but we also have private funding that we've already secured, and that is offsetting a total estimated development cost of about $375,000. In the end, this house will be sold to the homeowner for much less than that, $229,000. And this is also a partnership, importantly, to note that it's a partnership with the Plymouth Redevelopment Authority. As you all know, the land was conveyed to them, and they then chose Habitat as the developer of this lot. And the unit will go back on the tax rolls. It has been, was in land court for a very long time, well over a decade. And so when the family moves in, it is a Plymouth family of 4, 2 young children, a first grader and a preschooler. Very excited. They're both members of the Plymouth workforce, and they are working diligently to build this house alongside our volunteers. So that's, and in the end, in terms of the community volunteerism, we estimate about probably over 350 volunteers will put their hands on this house. And these are groups, community groups, church groups, civic groups, businesses will come together and do team builds. It's a really wonderful community effort. We encourage you to come down. We hope we will be extending you an invitation, actually, all of you, to come down for the dedication ceremony, which is always a lovely capstone when we finish up.
Thank you, Ms. Belmore. Are there questions from from the board members? Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Ms. Belmore. I had an opportunity to go to the opening last summer down in Manomet, and I thought that was a really great event, and it was great to see the family be turned over the home and be move-in ready there. I know about the sweat equity hours that they put in, and they seemed really proud about that, as well as all of the other volunteers that worked on it. I think that in and of itself is a notable asset in the community, because affordable housing and affordability is such an issue, but there's so little that most residents can do something about directly for it. And with Habitat for Humanity, you can do that. I know that at some points in the process, there's been some criticism of Habitat for Humanity, which is a little odd to me. I would have thought that there's not a lot of organizations in the community that I think are above criticism, but I would have thought Habitat for Humanity would have been one of them. But I guess we live in interesting times. But I thank you very much for the stuff that you've been doing in Plymouth, and I think that, you know, in terms of you're putting on one unit at a time, so you're not going to independently solve our subsidized housing problem, but that's a community problem, and we're working on it. But I think in terms of the cost per unit that you're able to produce, because you have this volunteer workforce that's very engaged, that is a tremendous asset that I think is well worth of the CPC investment and other town funds or the Affordable Housing Trust or other means. So I hope I've seen you before us before and before the FinCom before that, and I hope we will continue to see you there again. Do you have any future plans in Plymouth as of yet, or is that TBD at this point?
Well, no addresses to point to, but we are continuously looking at properties in Plymouth. I mean, continuously. In fact, we had spent quite a bit of time on one in particular, and that one has come off of our list simply because of the price point that was beyond our reach. And so that would have, what our thought process would have been for multiple units on that particular parcel. But we have a site selection committee that has about 6 or 7 people on it, I think 4 of which are realtors. So not only are the volunteers out building homes, but we have a slew of volunteers on the back side of things, you know, helping us to put together the projects and do all of the pre-development work and analysis on these sites. And actually something that you said, Mr. Canty, just reminded me to mention, when I talk about these volunteers, they all ages, my goodness, it's such a wonderful, rewarding experience, because people of all backgrounds and all ages are coming together to do something that everybody's pulling in the same direction, and it's really wonderful. But it's also worth mentioning that a good number of them are retirees, and there is real concrete data-proven benefit to bringing out people who are getting a little bit older, keeping them in routine, exercise, fresh air, getting them out of that isolation mode that can quickly lead to health issues. And
Yeah.
so that is also a benefit. I don't do enough talking about that, to be honest, but it is absolutely a benefit. So in addition to the 4 lovely people who will live in this home, clearly getting a benefit of transformative, affordable housing, better education, better child development, employment stability, and all of that for them. But for our volunteers that come out, there's real tangible benefit to that work.
Absolutely. And can you talk more about the brush with kindness? Because I've heard a little bit about that in the past, but not
Yeah.
as much as some of the other stuff. It's what I know the least about.
Sure.
And I think it sounds very beneficial to the community, but if you could just expand upon that.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's an ongoing application process for low-income households who oftentimes it has to do with, as I said, these are critical home repairs, so nothing cosmetic, but we've installed quite a number of wheelchair disability ramps, weatherization projects, aging in place, fall prevention, things of that nature that still our volunteers can do. So we, just as with our homes, we don't put volunteers responsible for electrical or plumbing or roofing. We do bring in professionals for those with our homes. So with regards to Brush with Kindness, we don't do those major projects, but those types of smaller repairs that can be accomplished within a couple of weeks fall under that program. And then we've also done some sizable projects that have taken several months, all of them for medical or disability issues that have involved, adding on space onto someone's home, bringing their living from the second floor to the first floor because of disability issues and things like that. Years ago, before my time, we put an elevator in someone's house for a child's disability. So those are the types of projects that we accomplish with Brush with Kindness.
How does a member of the community apply for assistance, if
Yeah.
that's the term?
Thank you for asking. So if they were to go to our website or call our office, the first point of contact is with my colleague. Her name is Lynn. And there is an application, simple, this one's simple, asking for information. We then send out one of our volunteers to take a look at what is it that needs to be handled or dealt with, to figure out the scope of the work and whether it's something we can do. So it's a straightforward, simple application.
All right, well, thank you very much for the project and all the work that you do and all the other volunteers. I really appreciate the work.
Thank you.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes. Could we go back to the slide, Amy, where you show how this project financially breaks down? And I think that is a very educational slide. Sometimes you run into different opinions of, Kevin was able to touch on the concern someone might have about funding an operation like this. We all know Habitat for Humanity for all of its work now that it's been doing for nearly 50 years.
Well, certainly across the country. Here in Plymouth, we're about 28 years old.
28
Yes.
years. So this is a nice explanation of how this organization takes the bond raising concept to the 21st century level, where you're tapping all the different organizations in the area. I know in my efforts to work on affordable housing, it was very difficult to find organizations that you could partner with to get the ball over the goal line, to build truly affordable housing with your 50 and 60 AMI in the model that you have. It's a real interesting way of a community pooling all of its little resources into one unit. So I commend, Habitat's model. I commend this nice slide that tells us all the different partners that are playing a role in how this unit gets built. It's all about finding different organizations. And, within the town of Plymouth, there's numerous organizations working on affordable housing. There's community development. There's the redevelopment authority. There's the community preservation committee. There's the town of Plymouth that's in the planning department always trying to find an opportunity to find land to put a community housing on. So an organization like yourself can help the town internally maximize its capabilities on a multitude of levels. So the model is very impressive, and I thank you for this article. I think it's very helpful to have.
Thank you. Thank you for saying so. And I also want to mention, in terms of that the private funding that we've raised, I really should give proper acknowledgement to one of those major funders, which is the Pine Hills Affordable Housing Charitable Trust. They've partnered with us in a major way. This will be their 6th home with us, and so we're very grateful to them, and that they make up a big chunk of that private funding that we've already pulled together. And also, the Office of Community and Planning Development has been incredibly supportive of Habitat. We always want to thank them.
Any other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank
Bring
you.
it back to the board. As a reminder, because this is a CPC article, we do not control its addition to the warrant. It will move forward to town meeting, and the warrant's closed anyways, so. Is there a motion to recommend town meeting's approval?
Make a motion that we recommend town meeting approve Article 18, CPC article, affordable housing, Habitat for Humanity.
Mr. Canty has moved. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
I think I heard Mr. Quintel first, but Mr. Cohan was right behind him. All right, any discussion? Hearing and seeing none. Mr. Cohan?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes, it's unanimous. Thank you. All right, next on the list is Article 25, a citizen's petition article for zoning bylaw amendment to Section 203-2C. I see we have a number of presenters, so if you want to come on up and introduce yourselves and take it away.
My name is Nancy McCundon. I am representing the Plymouth Stewardship Alliance tonight, although there are several other Alliance members present. I'm from Precinct 8, Old Sandwich Road. The Plymouth Stewardship Alliance is a relatively new network of conservation-minded citizen leaders. Our membership brings decades of knowledge of environmental issues that both currently and potentially have great impact on the town of Plymouth. In response to hearing fierce public outcry over large-scale sand mining, the PSA used the citizen petition process to place an article on the warrant of upcoming fall town meeting. If passed, this would have enacted an 11-month moratorium on commercial sand strip mining, like we've seen at 71 Hedges Pond Road and 10 Collins Avenue, and it would have given the community time to rework the existing sand and gravel bylaws. As we moved forward, though, with Article 25, we received both strong support from the community and concern from the planning department, who argued that our article would negatively impact all development in town. So after a series of meetings with the planning officials, the PSA agreed to recommend no motion and take no action on Article 25. In exchange for which the town would agree to prioritize the reestablishment of the Sand and Gravel Bylaw Review Committee and to rewrite the bylaws to prevent commercial sand mining. This cooperative effort began in earnest last week when town planning officials excuse me, and the PSA met to begin the process of defining the scope and cost of this effort. So we thank the town for their fast action and for moving this cooperative plan forward. Tonight, we'd like to officially inform the select board of this new partnership, and we look forward to hearing your input on the formation of the new to-be-determined Sand and Gravel Bylaw Review Committee, and we're very hopeful that this process can begin quickly. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McCunnon. Is there anyone else from your group who wishes to speak? Excellent. Well, since you've requested no motion, no action, I don't think there'll be any action on the part of our board tonight in terms of the article itself. I understand that the Advisory and Finance Committee heeded your wish to have no motion, no action. So
yes.
If it's the pleasure of the board, I'd like to take the agenda a little out of order to speak about the Earth Removal Bylaw Review Committee. Is there any objection to that? All right. Well, we'll move forward with our discussion then. And if there's any questions, I'm sure we'll be asking you folks to come on back up.
Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. So I'll give a quick update related to Ms. Mukunin's remarks here tonight. I've spoken with the chair of the of Plymouth's Planning Board about the discussions that he and the planning department have had with the PSA. It's my understanding that a number of parameters have been discussed about this board. Specifically, that there would be 3 appointees each for a total of 9 total committee members. Each of the Select Board, the Planning Board, and the COPC would be appointing to those, to that committee. There would be no appointing authority members sitting on the committee, so we wouldn't put Select Board members on or Planning Board members and so forth. There would be a preference for folks with skills in science and technology, specifically earth sciences, hydrology, geology, those sorts of things. Legislative affairs, law, or land use. Additionally, a timeline was discussed. We would codify these parameters and discuss any additional ones at our joint meeting, which is currently scheduled for November. There would be an appointment process that would follow approximately early December with a first meeting of the committee in early January. Ms. Mukunin, sorry to call you back up. Is that a good summary of the discussions that you folks have had?
Yes, it is. No surprises from previous discussions. Our preference to protect our natural resources as thoroughly and as quickly as possible is as soon as possible to get the committee formed would be our preference.
Very good. Thank you. Having given the update as to where things stand, I'll open up to the board if there are any questions. Mr. Quintal?
I just want to say congratulations. And you had my support from the meeting I attended. And I had some questions, and I spoke for a little bit. And the clinch for me was the building inspector had the final yay or nay at the end of the process. Now, since that's what I was told, and I don't know if that's 100% correct, so let me fast forward into saying that I'm happy for you and your work, your dedication, and for our town, because I think it needs to be done, and I commend you. And you too, Mr. Mand, I know you did a lot, and all of you sitting there, I don't know all your names, so. But I'm glad to see it's something we do need, but I would like it to be done correctly. And, you know, to go to town meeting, like I said that Saturday, I mean, I'm just a little, you know, compared to what a couple hundred people are going to ask you if it's not right. So you better take your time, get the support, do it right, and then we'll all stand behind you and accomplish what you really need to do. And I want to say thanks for taking the classy route that you took with this, because in this business, no, it's a little tough, and I think you did it right, and I don't mind saying so. So thank you all.
Mr. Canty?
So are we still planning to have that joint meeting with the planning board? I had one scheduled on our calendar for November 12th. Is that the date that we're sticking with?
That's correct, yes.
So in terms of this committee, are you seeing that this would be something that we would post the applications for soon, or wait until after that? What is the time frame in terms of soliciting applications and then having the appointment process? Because I think that while town meeting is on the top of people's minds and Article 25 is still on the warrant, that interest in the committee may be at a higher ebb while town meeting is at the forefront before people start transitioning into Thanksgiving and Christmas mode in your Novembers and Decembers. There may be a value in posting advertisements for applications sooner rather than later, having an extended period that extends through town meeting, and then being able to appoint folks to suite afterwards, whether that is at that 11/12 meeting or shortly thereafter. But those would be my thoughts in terms of capitalizing on the conversation in the community to solicit the maximum amount of participants for the 9 positions to try and get a cross-sectional group of folks.
Yeah, great question. I'd have to do a little coordination with the planning board as well as the COPC. But I think we could certainly make a recommendation to our colleagues on those bodies to say we are interested in advertising sooner than later, if that's the wish of this board. I will say this is a planning board. This has traditionally been a planning board committee, and they will be the sponsors of any articles that move forward in regard to this bylaw change. I think we need to take a little lead from the planning board, but we can certainly share our wishes with them.
And I agree with that it is a planning board-led effort and it's a zoning bylaw change, so they should be taking the lead on that based on separation of powers and responsibilities. They also don't want a member of the planning, because I agree it shouldn't be a select board member or a COPC member, I think that makes sense, but there could be a value in having a planning board member, given I would defer to their wishes on that, but is that, they do not want one of their membership to be on it either?
Well, I won't speak for the planning board, but the discussion between the chairman of that board, the planning department staff, and the PSA was that no appointing authorities would sit on the board on the committee as well. So I'll leave that to the planning board to decide.
I don't have an answer about committee membership, but we have requested some time at next week's planning board meeting to have this conversation about applications. So that will be a conversation happening at planning board next week, we expect.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate that, and I look forward to seeing the process develop.
Ms. Iaquinto?
I want to echo Mr. Quintel in saying thank you for all of the work that you did to bring this very important issue up to the point that we're actually having an active, productive discussion about earth removal in the town. So I'm just delighted that we're at that point, and I have no doubt that we're going to be able to move forward collaboratively with all interested parties. I do have one question. Mr. Golden, you mentioned that we would be looking for applicants to this committee that had specific competencies and skills. So how does that work in the application process? Do we actually request, sort of almost like a job description of what we would be looking for? I'm just curious how that would work, because I agree with it. And I think that it's very important. I just am not sure how that would look and feel.
So we haven't codified these preferences yet, but they're preferences, not specific requirements. So if we were to move forward with the proposal as discussed between the PSA and planning staff and the chair of the planning board, we would likely advertise that we're specifically looking for those folks, so that the members of the public who are interested in applying can highlight their accomplishments in those areas.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mr. Cohen?
Nancy, thank you again for in love in the Plymouth stewardship group. I think that everyone has indicated that it was very helpful that the petitioners of this article, along with the planning process and the planning board and the planning department in the town, tried to find an opportunity to have a breakthrough and see if we can work directly towards establishing a sand and gravel committee as soon as possible, rather than going to town meeting. And there's one thing that we're going to learn. Lee Hartman, the current director of planning development, told me something 25 years ago. You don't want to go to town meeting and end up in a very tense situation, because these failings last for a while and delay the inevitable effort of the town. So you don't want to unnecessarily put everyone through a debate that could be peering people off in this day and age, we want to see if we can get to a point of common ground as soon as we possibly can, and what you extended was an example of that, so I thank you for that effort. The other thing that I do believe, since I arrived on the board back in May, I've been calling for a sand and gravel committee. Obviously, we've had to tackle a few issues along the way, and we're preparing now for town meeting. Obviously, that's the priority of this board, the finance committee, the planning board, town meeting members, and caucuses. So I don't want to distract from the responsibilities that we have on October 18th, Saturday, which is town meeting. But I think that we can do two things simultaneously, and that would be, as a board, moving ahead to declare that we're going to start taking applications, opening up a 30-day window so that people have time to get their application in. Obviously, when town meeting is done, we can go back and look at these applications that are coming in during that process. So as we get to the late part of October, early part of November, we have, obviously, early part of November, we have an opportunity to actually put together a sand and gravel bylaw committee or an earth removal bylaw committee, it's been suggested. So I'd like to entertain that in the form of a motion that we would take to vote to begin the notification of a 30-day window to seek applications for the Sand and Gravel Committee. I think this is important to send a message to the planning board and town meeting and the committee of precinct chairs, because yes, the planning board does have a great deal of responsibility when it comes to the planning process, but we as elected select board members, obviously it's part of our motivation for running for this office because of the concern of where we're going in terms of growth and development. So I think that the select board has an equal role in this question, and eventually any bylaw changes are going to have to go through the town meeting, and we need their buy-in. So I see this as three equal partners and working to solve a problem. So I'd like to, make a motion that we tonight make a commitment to opening up the application process, giving a 30-day window, so that when town meeting is over and we're in the early part of November, we could actually go and start to appoint people.
Second.
Well, a motion has been made and seconded. Before we move forward with discussion, I would want to just clarify two things. Mr. Cohen, when would you recommend that the 30-day period begin?
I believe that 30-day period, are we planning to meet? Excuse me, are we planning to meet on October 7th?
Yes.
Okay, so hopefully at that time we can, set the clock based on our final discussions about, Ms. Quinto has brought up a point, and you touched on this point, what kind of qualifications are we looking for?
Mm-hmm.
So I think we'd make a motion tonight to, commit to this, and then our following night, we can, open up the window for 30 days and give the applicant some indication of what we're looking for.
Okay. Would you be willing, because I believe, and I'll ask Mr. Mand, you guys are scheduled to meet next on the 8th, is that correct? Would you be willing to go 2 more days to the 9th to open the application so that they can have time to have the discussion?
Okay, yep, absolutely. As long as we have an opportunity to take a vote on the, clarify on the 7th, obviously.
And one final point of clarification, if you'll entertain me. Since, Mr. Canty brought up the separation of powers, would you be willing to make the motion in the form of a recommendation to the planning board to open on the 9th?
Yes.
Excellent. So, the motion that's before us is to recommend to the planning board that we open a 30-day application period for the earth removal bylaw review committee starting on October 9th. Is that correct?
Correct.
Do you maintain your motion?
I do.
And do you maintain your second? Yes. Excellent. Discussion. Mr. Canty?
So I think that this is an important initiative. I think capitalizing on the time frame of town meeting makes a lot of sense. I hope the planning board will see this as a favorable recommendation, but if they don't, we as a board could open an application period for our portion of the committee if we really wanted to.
Right.
So either way, I'd rather do it collaboratively and cooperatively, but we do have other options if need be. But I do support the effort. I think while it's at the top of mind and the top of the conversation, it makes the most sense to have these applications come in, having that period of time for people to get their ducks in a row and make the application process work for them. So I would be in favor of the recommendation, and I would be also further in favor of opening those applications one way or another in the near future.
Excellent. Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes, I agree that we should act quickly on this, and I like the idea of modifying the motion as a recommendation. I do have one question, though, if I'm allowed to ask a question at this point. I just want to make sure that we have enough time that we can agree on what the competencies are that would be preferable for the applicants. I'm not sure that we've reached that agreement. Maybe we have, and I just want to make sure that, because we're talking about opening it up in about a week, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it sounds like there is agreement
Okay.
among this
Okay.
board, and the planning board can certainly take it up on their end as they meet to discuss. I don't know that COPC will have time. They have pretty packed agendas between now and town meeting, but I will reach out to Mr. Tavares and ask that he also put it on a future meeting for his group as well.
That's great. I just don't want us to overlook something in our desire to move this quickly along.
Yep, understood. Did you have a follow-up, Mr. Canty?
Yeah, I would just, our preferences are our preferences, obviously. So the planning board, it sounds like they would, based on your conversations, are largely in line. COPC could look for just like citizen input if they wanted to, that's up to them. But it's a 9-member committee, and I think there's value in a cross-section, whether that be somebody that is just interested in it, or whether I do think there's a benefit in having expertise in a related field. But, the common man or woman's input is also of value.
It
So
absolutely is. I agree.
yes, so, we'll see how it plays out.
Yep. Mr. Cohen?
Just to assure Deb, Ms. Iaquinto, is that on the 7th, we would, spend some time just determining what the priorities are in the application process and the qualities we're looking for. And then we take a vote that evening to move forward, and then we have the 9th where we're waiting for the planning board and see where they're going to move, what direction they're going to move in.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Quintel?
Yeah, I just would be mistaken if I didn't say thank you to you, Bill. I was talking to Mr. Cohen, I think it was the night before, or 2 nights before, and I said to him, I'm going to go to the library Saturday, and I'm going to attend this meeting because I want to learn, and he kind of went, like, oh, he does that. So I goes in the room, and guess who's working the sign-in table? Him. So he knew exactly where I was going. So, I know you put your heart and soul into it, and I just want to say thank you.
Any further discussion? I would echo Mr. Quintel's remarks about your involvement, Mr. Cohen. For folks who don't know, Mr. Cohen was instrumental in bringing PSA and the town staff and planning board together. So again, thank you for doing so.
I appreciate those comments, but I always fall back on the idea that there's the nice thing about Plymouth and the instruments that we have to give self-governance is this ability to work with one another and find opportunities that are truly unique on a local level. So thank you to all.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Quintel?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. I will follow up with the chair of the planning board and let him know about our discussion here tonight and the recommendation that we have to open up on October 9th pending their discussion at their next meeting. Thank you. All right, we're going to go back in order now. We have the town clerk, Ms. McElrath, here tonight, who's here to discuss the board and committee appointment overview. Ms. McElrath.
Good evening. Good to see you again. So I was asked to, there was a discussion a couple weeks ago about appointed and elected officials, and I was asked to come and do a presentation, so I'll just get right into it and answer any questions you may have. So the current status, we, believe it or not, we have 549 appointed and elected officials in the town of Plymouth. 204 are elected, 245 are appointed by the Select Board, and there's about 100 appointed by other committees such as Moderator, Planning Board, as well as ex officios. For example, myself the town clerk is an ex officio of the Board of Registrars. So that's also included on those committees. So the background, I can tell you from 2022 through April 1 of 2025, these 549 officials were tracked with an Excel spreadsheet. It was very difficult to maintain that Excel spreadsheet. When officials were appointed at a select board meeting or by another appointing authority, sometimes that tracking wasn't always the best. And sometimes the email letting the appointee know that they were appointed and they needed to come in and get sworn in, as well as the other certifications, were not always timely. So, and this is my shout out to Jade, which I give every single time. When she came on board, she looked at me and said, that Excel spreadsheet is a lot. And I said, yes, it is. She goes, there's got to be something better. And the town supports me for going to town clerk conferences. I pulled out a brochure and said, check this company out. So we were able to get the system known as Onboard, the website system known as Onboard. We were able to get that funded, and through the tremendous work of Jade, we got all the data that was on that spreadsheet into Onboard, which tracks all the committee members, their terms, everything you could want. Due to the old tracking mechanism, not all the data was correct, or some of it was missing. And then pretty much this year, because we started using the Onboard as of April 1 of 2025, the town clerk's office, when people came in to get sworn in or take the oath of office, we input it into the Onboard software. So the update, after your discussion that you had on September 9th, on September 11th, emails went out to any appointed or elected officials that had no record of an oath of office being taken. I will firmly admit, and I know for a fact, that I would swear people in, give the oath of office to someone in the elevator. And I was not always good about tracking that in the Excel spreadsheet. So either I'm going to be putting in my phone if someone catches me on the elevator, or we're going to have people come to the town clerk's office. And we, needless to say, we update the software when someone comes in. Out of all those emails that went out, the results are this: we have 4 appointees by the select board that did not take the oath. We have 2 elected officials that did not take the oath. However, one came in at 4:45 today, so that's actually down to 1. 4 appointees from other boards did not take the oath of office, so right now we're down to 9 officials that did not take the oath of office that we have tracking mechanisms for. How are we going to improve that process? So with this software, I think it's going to help us a lot with the process. The onboard software, immediately, once we update an appointee into the system, it immediately sends an email to the appointee, and they get that email. It will come from Onboard, but it states the town of Plymouth, and I've got an example of it next. And it specifically states they have 30 days to get sworn in. For elected officials, we are committed that within 48 hours of once the election is certified, we will be notifying all elected officials. Keep in mind, it's certification, and it can take us a couple days to get all the town meeting members with write-ins and hand counts calculated. So that will not happen. We hope to have it done by the end of the week, but we can run into hiccups on that. And then, of course, there's staff liaison for the other appointing authorities, and they will be getting trained and permission to use Onboard. So when their appointing authorities make appointments, they can update the software as well. They get the email, they come into the town clerk's office and take the oath of office. We update Onboard. If we will be establishing tick list systems in our calendar, we're hoping that the software at some point can give us a heads up if someone did not get appointed in 20 days. But I'm going to set up a system that, that if in 20 days I can look, I can pull a report. If they didn't get sworn in, I can send them a reminder email that they have 10 days to do it. And if they don't come in on the 31st day, I will notify the appointing authorities of the vacancy. This is an email. I know it's small. We could definitely email it to you. There is a lot of information. There is a lot of links. Lastly, we bolded to let them know it's 30 days. They have to understand the open meeting law. They have to take the ethics. They get the guiding principles that you reaffirmed this year. So they get a lot of information in this email, and I'm sincerely happy with the company that they were able to modify this to accommodate this type of email going out once someone is appointed. And I'm here for any questions, but
Thank you, Ms. McKellar.
If I could, before we go to questions, Mr. Chairman. So just to take us back to this slide here. So for discussion for the board tonight, I think the board's going to have to decide what they want to do with the 4 individuals who have not taken the oath of office to date. Kelly, we still have those 4, correct? Yep. So that's something the board needs to discuss. And then I'd like to bring the board up to date on a meeting that we had yesterday with Attorney Lauren Goldberg. She's one of the principal partners at KP Law. She is really the expert when it comes to elections, board and committee appointments, things of that nature. Kelly had a conversation with her at a conference last week, set up a meeting for yesterday evening. Both myself, town clerk, and town council had a meeting with Lauren Goldberg to discuss how we move forward. So as we all know, even those individuals who have taken the oath of office still haven't, they have not been able to meet the requirements of the bylaw, which requires them to be sworn in within 30 days of their appointment. So looking at it from a pure legal sense, they still, in theory, would have vacated the office, right? The board had given these individuals, both past and present, a grace period to get sworn in, but that still doesn't take away the fact that they still violated the bylaw. And in the conversation that we had with KP Law, they agree that those individuals violated the bylaw, and the select board wouldn't have the authority to grant any extensions or any grace periods. So we talked about what is the best course of action to repair this problem. And so we had a couple different options, but after a lengthy discussion, what I am recommending this evening for the board to consider is to submit a governor's bill, which really what it is special legislation filed by the select board. This bill is being drafted right now for your review for next Tuesday. It's being drafted by Attorney Goldberg. In short, it basically reaffirms the positions, both elected and appointed. So it reaffirms those positions that were elected for those elected officials, and it reaffirms the positions that were appointed by all the appointing authorities. She believes that this would, if signed by the governor, this would then allow the board to have taken the action they had taken by giving them this grace period. She doesn't see a other alternative other than going back and then backdating the reappointment dates for all of these individuals in the past. Even if you were to do that, you could legally do that, it wouldn't cure the problem we have with the elected officials. So her recommendation is, if you have to file a governor's bill for the elected officials, which you would have to do, you might as well include the appointed officials as well. I've since had conversations with the Senator's office. I've had conversations with the 2 state representatives this morning. I've let them know that this is something that we're contemplating and that we would circle back with the state delegation. We'll need their support in submitting this legislation to the governor. We're hoping that if the board wants us to move forward with this, we will submit the language for your review next Tuesday and get it to the State House the following day. The hope is that we have the governor sign this by October 17th prior to town meeting.
Excellent. Thank you for that update, Derek. And Kelly, thank you as well. I know this was a monumental lift for you and your team, and I had all the faith in the world that you guys would work through this and put in a system just like this to make sure it doesn't happen again. Questions? Mr. Canty?
So I appreciate all the work that the town clerk's office has done since this issue came to light. I had an opportunity over the weekend to look through the chart that we received, which was very detailed about everybody that had complied, everybody that complied during the amnesty period, everyone that complied prior to the amnesty period, and everyone that did not comply with either the amnesty period or the original structures. I think it's a system problem. I've always thought it was a system problem because the number of it, I had an opportunity to go through the chart and look at how many people are affected. And there are, by my count, 44 board or committee positions, not people, positions, because some people wear multiple hats, that took advantage of amnesty but were otherwise not in compliance. 48 that exceeded 30 days but had sworn themselves in, or, well, gotten themselves sworn in prior to the amnesty period. I agree that under the text of the bylaw, their termination is automatic if they don't comply with it. But I also think, based on the number, it suggests 92 positions that, we weren't doing a great job advertising it, which is why I think it needs a system solution. So I did have an opportunity to do some research into potential solutions, and I think the governor's bill is not a bad idea, particularly for the elected officials. But having looked through the charts, I have some papers for my colleagues. And what I would propose that we do, if you look at the charts, so this is a memorandum as well as some charts with groups in them. Yeah, you can take that one. So if you look in there, what I've provided to you is a breakdown of everybody in their various group that they belong to, and I divided people that we appoint into groups 1, 2, or 3. Group 1 are people that took the oath during the 9/8 to 9/18 amnesty period, and that's the 44 individuals. But as you can see, just looking at that chart and that chart alone, there are some entire committees that may have quorum issues based on their membership for being not in compliance technically. So having to wait for a prolonged period for even a governor's bill may be undesirable. And then Group 2, you have appointees that took the oath after 30 days, but outside the amnesty period, prior to the amnesty period. And that's 48. And then again, you have, for example, like Mr. Golden, you're the chair of the wastewater groundwater discharge CAC, and there are a number of folks on that, for example, that are not in compliance. And I know that they're at a critical stage in some of their work. Group 3 would actually be members of our board. I'm not sure about the accuracy of some of that information, to be honest. No criticism of the town clerk's office, but I noticed that I was on there for an NDCAP, which I was reappointed to on June 17th at our meeting, and I took the oath thereafter. But the reported date was my original appointment to NDCAP when I started serving on the select board, which would have meant that I was like 2 years out of compliance almost. So I provide this chart in particular, and all the charts, for members of the board to look at and verify the accuracy of the information. I would suggest, I think that the governor's bill for the elected officials makes a lot of sense. I don't think there's any harm in including the appointed officials on there. But if you look later in the packet, we do have a precedent in the town for a retroactive appointment made by the Conservation Commission on July 10th of 2012. They appointed Paul Withington to the CPC effective on June 30th, 2011, but it was voted on July 10th, 2012. So it was retroactive by 12 months and 2 weeks or thereabouts for a term expiring on June 30th. And we do have the authority to retroactively make the appointments. So I've listed the date that the individual took their oath for all these groups, particularly for Group 2. I would suggest that we add to a future agenda reappointing all Group 1 members on 9/8, because that would put them into compliance. Group 2, putting them, there's various dates, but one day before they took their oath, which would put them in compliance. And then Group 3, we would want to verify the information on there as being correct, but then also dating that, the appointments of board members that may or may not have been in noncompliance to 9/8 as well. I think that would, for the appointed groups, particularly these 92 positions, which could have a systemic impact on the functionality of some vital components of town government, there would be a benefit in having clarity sooner rather than later. And I think also that, given that it is apparently a systems failure and that these are people that are interested in serving their community and may or may not have even known about this general bylaw's existence, let alone that they had to comply with it, particularly given some of the inconsistent communications, that it is in our benefit to fix the problem and move forward, as has been put together by the town clerk and Ms. Anderton, having worked on some of that solution myself in my prior role. I think that the notification requirements in place now will prevent this from happening going forward, but we need to correct the problem that we have found. I took some time to do it. I knew it would take some time to get to the bottom of it because it is a complicated problem, but I appreciate all the work that everyone has done getting there. But I would request that this be added to an agenda in the next week or two for us to consider these retroactive appointments to continue the functionality of these boards and committees, particularly given the quorum issues that they may have.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. Is that something that the board would prefer? I mean, it sounds to me like the town manager's office has this in hand through the governor's bill, but I'm happy to hear from other colleagues. Mr. Cohen?
Well, this is new information, so the town manager is going to present us with some language for a potential bill to go to the governor. So as we wait for that presentation, we can absorb this information and continue this discussion, I think, at a point when we all have time to absorb this information.
And we could do both. They're not mutually exclusive, particularly because we can't solve the elected, but we can solve the appointed sooner than the governor can.
Yeah. So you're pointing out the precedent that was set back in 2012, July 10th, the Conservation Commission, in retroactively appointing Paul Withington
Yes.
on the Conservation Commission
Yes.
to the Community Preservation Committee. Now, I know that Paul had been initially appointed in 2002 and served until he left in around 2017. So is there, in your research, did you find any other evidence of his appointment process up until then?
He had been a member. I don't know if I didn't really get involved in town government until 2014, to be honest. So I'm not sure of the facts and circumstances that led to, I don't know if it was just an admin issue and they realized they hadn't appointed him, similar to what we discovered, but just on a much smaller scale. But either way, I mean, we have the inherent authority. We have appointment authority and it's not time limited. So we have the inherent authority to retroactively. In my line of work, we call it nunc-pro-tunct, which is a Latin word to relate back to, or 3 words actually, relating back to. But it's an option that we have. There's a precedent for us having it done in the community before, and that way these 92 positions would be solved. There is one that we received a letter of resignation about earlier, so I guess we're down to 91 now, but either event.
I guess my recollection of the 2002 appointment of Paul, having been there, and then later on, around 2012, as you noted. But at different times, I recall serving on different committees where we were reminded of this responsibility. So it did come up at different times. Whether or not it was pursued every year at the same level of intensity might have led to the confusion. But I think, my feeling is the town manager is going to be bringing in some language, and we should review that in advance and then review this and take a further discussion at next week's meeting.
Other thoughts? Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes, I'm just interested in taking the most efficient path forward. I just have a question, though. So the people that are affected, while we wait to figure out which path we're going to take to make them whole again, will they be able to continue to function in their roles, or they will
No.
not be able to? Okay.
That's why I think, because the governor's bill will take some amount of time.
That's what I'm concerned about,
So
yeah.
that's why we could do them concurrently, and we could solve our local, in our control issue next week, and then wait for the governor's process to play it out to solve it on a more global scale.
So we have some elected officials who won't be able to vote on things, or is that a true statement, or?
Yes.
Or appointed officials, appointed?
Technically, you have appointed and elected officials right now.
Right.
But next week, if we were to retroactively appoint our appointees, they'd be okay.
Okay. That makes sense to me.
I see the town manager and the town clerk are discussing. Do you folks want to chime in on this?
So one thing in my career as town clerk, I've been told numerous times that there's, and I apologize, I don't know the Mass General Law number off the top of my head, but it's known as the holdover law, that it states something to the effect of if you, if your term expires, elected and/or appointed, until someone is appointed or elected and qualified in your place, meaning took the oath of office, your term, even though you have a term ending date, that term does not end. You are still considered the official. This is a good case I can remember is if you have two select board members that vote and it turns out that it was a tie and before the recount can happen, if one of those members was an incumbent, that person can continue to act as the select board member moving forward. I know that was a particular case in one state and I've heard it elsewhere. So the evaluation was not done on how many of those elected officials were reappointed, because I do know for a fact that people came in and said, oh, well, I got sworn in when I was elected, and I would look, and I'm like, well, you were elected in 04, and you were elected in 21. I'm sorry, 24 and 21. And he looked at me, he goes, yeah, I haven't been here since 21. So that would be that case, just to talk about the holdover. That's in the statute.
I believe isn't there a requirement, though, that under that law, that if the local authority has a different variance? So because of the existence of 123 Section 1 under the bylaw, my reading of it would be that because we have this additional requirement, that those people can't continue to serve.
Yeah, well, I would say that in the case of the charter, I would agree. So, and we had this conversation with KP last night that, under the charter, which supersedes any statute. So that's why we have special legislation, charter special legislation. It would supersede that. So in the case of the holdover wouldn't apply to elected officials because of the charter and the way the charter language reads. But that being said, I think there was a question about town meeting. I think I may have heard that. And how would this affect the October town meeting? What we were told yesterday that these individuals are acting in good faith. And they're acting in good faith in the positions in which they were appointed to or which they were elected to. And so for those reasons, we know that we could continue to move forward in the manner that we have been moving, knowing that the governor's bill would cure all that in the end. So even if the governor didn't sign it by October 17th, town meeting can continue to act in good faith, and then that the bill would then cover that any challenge that may be brought forward.
Well, and in regards to the town meeting members specifically, there's a provision in the charter that unless other arrangements are made, which is not time limited. So the bylaw for elected and appointed officials, 123 Section 1, does not have that out. But for town meeting members, they can make alternate arrangements. There's no time limit on that. Historically, the two clerks ago used to swear in a bunch of town meeting members at the October town meeting. That was an alternative arrangement having been made.
Yeah, no, you're right, and it's a very, as you know, very broad language, alternative arrangements. So what does that mean? Alternative arrangements within 30 days, or just generally alternative arrangements? So I think the point is that if a challenge was ever brought forward, we think that we could make an argument based upon what you said, Selectwoman McCanty, about alternative arrangements. But at the end of the day, this is where the governor's bill would cure all that, and so that if anything was brought forward, we have that final cover. But we could make those arguments in the interim.
Right, and I think personally, it would be our best interest to use all of the cards at our disposal.
Agreed.
And, reappoint retroactively our folks, make alternate arrangements for the town meeting members so they can do that regardless of the governor's schedule, because what if she takes a sick day on October 17th? And then, pursue the governor's bill process for the final panacea.
There's no doubt that the select board can act more swiftly when it comes to appointed members. There's no doubt about that. We're hopeful that we can have this remedied by October 17th, but again, we're at the will of the governor.
Thank you. Would Mr. Canty's solution, I think the answer is no, but would Mr. Canty's solution have any impact on the governor's bill if we did both? It's a double protection.
No, I
perhaps?
think it's a belts and suspenders approach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Mr. Cohen?
But it's helpful, the town clerk outlining her experience with holdover and how that gives some relief to the concern that we operate a certain way. But in recent months, I've had an opportunity to spend my evenings going to lots of little committee meetings, and I see this process. It might seem a little, mundane and technical at times that you're having about curing this problem and addressing this problem, but I see it as something which is making us look at our committee process throughout the town of Plymouth. Plymouth has nearly 549 people serving on committees and boards across the town. I've been spending some time in the evenings going to these random committees and just listening and learning and seeing a level of passion for our community that is changing the face of Plymouth in a positive way. So any way we can straighten out the committee process in terms of how we appoint and how they serve and how we communicate with them and how they're sworn in. This is an excellent exercise in supporting an aspect of our town that benefits us greatly, and that is the residents volunteering their time back to the community.
All right. So we'll put the governor's bill on our next agenda. We can also address Mr. Canty's recommendation on that agenda as well. But you also said, Derek, that we have to decide what we're doing with the 4 appointees.
Right, so you still have 4 individuals that received the notice the town clerk reported on that was sent out after your vote that was taken on September 9th. Those individuals still haven't taken oath of office, so I guess the question really is, do you want to re-advertise those positions and consider them vacant? Do you want us to continue to provide the outreach to try to get them to swear, take the oath? It's entirely up to you.
Could you give us some insight into which committees they sit on?
2 Little Red Schoolhouse, 1 from Historic District, and 1 Memorial Advisory.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
What does the board think? Mr. Quintal?
So can we, excuse me, I missed the last a couple of meetings ago when this was all discussed, but can we re-advertise those 4 appointments?
According to the bylaw, yes.
I mean, because when you say Little Red Schoolhouse, we had, what's her name? Terry McKenna, thank you, McKenna. And she sat on that for years, and I know she missed something, didn't get a paper in, when, we should have probably just added it right to it. So I would, like to make a recommendation that we advertise these 4 positions that we're in control of immediately and address it that way. And the ones that didn't take the oath, well, so sorry. But I mean, to stand here and just keep letting it go, and we know, yeah, we have 1 interested applicant, a very good one, so I say, let's re-advertise it. I'll make a motion to do that if the board so agrees.
We do have some other folks who are
Okay.
wishing to weigh in, so if you don't mind, could we hold
No,
off on the
not
motion?
at all.
Thank you. Mr. Canty?
I think, I mean, while prior to our September 9th meeting, people may have not been aware of this, it would be difficult to not be aware of this issue at this point. They were reached out to individually through the contacts that they gave to the town clerk's office. It was covered in the Plymouth Independent rather robustly. It's been discussed at multiple board meetings here, and I know there's been a lot of communication and discussion about it in the community more broadly. So to me, the 92 that were late is a different thing. They at least did it eventually, and I think 92 positions, advertising that is very significant. So I'm glad we can come up with a solution to not have that kind of catastrophic loss to town government. But for these 4 that didn't take the oath initially, which could have been forgiven, but then also didn't take advantage of amnesty, you know, to me, you gotta fish or cut bait at some point, and I think these people have voted with their feet or lack thereof that we can seek other assistance on these particular boards and committees. So I think solving it for the people that took their oath late, one way or the other, makes sense, but for these folks that continue to be in noncompliance and can no longer claim ignorance, I think that re-advertising is the proper solution, particularly given that going forward, we will be notifying folks much more clearly and consistently, so this problem will not reoccur. So that would be my thoughts.
Mr. Cohan?
I defer to Deb. Deb, did you have your hand up? I didn't want to.
I just wanted to say, I agree, we can only chase people for so long, but I do really like the end-to-end process that Kelly has laid out for us to prevent this from happening again. So that was great, kudos on that, and I think we just re-advertise, and I don't think these people will even notice that they're not appointed at this point.
Did you have any?
I agree with my fellow board members that I think we should need to move quickly to re-advertise.
Excellent. Mr. Brindisi?
I just wanted to give the board an update relative to the legislation, just because it's hot off the press. Kelly and I just received it a few minutes ago, but I wait for you to deliberate on your question about the 4 positions, and then, if you don't mind, I'd like to read this to you.
Sure. So, Mr. Quintal, I believe you made a motion to re-advertise the 4 positions, is that correct?
Yes,
And
sir.
Mr. Cohen, you second?
I second.
Excellent. Is there any further discussion? All right. Hearing and seeing none, I'll call the roll. Ms. Iaquinta?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
And myself, yes. It's unanimous. We will re-advertise those positions. Mr. Brindisi?
So again, it's just timely because we're having this discussion, and Attorney Goldberg has just sent us a draft of the proposed legislation, and I thought if the board doesn't mind, I'd just like to read it to you so you have a sense of what I've been trying to talk about. So an act relative to elected and appointed officials of the town of Plymouth. So section 1, it's 2 sections. Section 1, notwithstanding the provisions of sections 5-3-1 and 5-3-2 of the Charter of the Town of Plymouth, as on file with the Archivist of the Commonwealth pursuant to Section 12 of Chapter 43B of the General Laws, or of any general or special law to the contrary, all acts and proceedings of the representative town meeting of the Town of Plymouth held since March 18, 2020, and all actions and proceedings in reliance thereon are hereby ratified, validated, and confirmed, notwithstanding that some members of the representative town meeting were not sworn in within 30 days of their election. And further, any representative town meeting member serving as of the effective date of this act who is not sworn in within the 30 days of their election may continue to serve in such position until the expiration of their current elected term or their sooner removal, retirement, or resignation. So I won't read the other sections to you because basically Section 2 is this similar language as it relates to appointed officials. So this is what we would present to you all next Tuesday. We'll give you, certainly effective tonight, give you a full 7 days to review this now that we have it. I would like to just recommend that if the board so desires, a unanimous vote is really important. It shows unity here in the town when the governor were to review this special act.
Thank you. Questions on that? All right. Well, thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Derek, for that update. We'll move on now on the agenda to discussion about town meeting caucus coverage. We are in full-blown caucus season here in Plymouth for the October town meeting. Some caucuses have met this week to discuss town meeting. Many of those, though, have multiple meetings with their caucus members. You all should have received in your mailbox today a list of caucus meetings from Jade. I just wanted to open a discussion. I know that the town manager has committed to getting to as many of these caucuses as possible. Derek, did you want to say anything about your involvement in the caucuses?
I mean, I plan to attend as many as I can. As you can tell, many of these are on the same evening, so it'll be tough to be in multiple places at once. But I did attend yesterday evening, Mr. Delafield's Precinct 16 caucus. So they do plan on having another meeting next week. They specifically went through the articles and will be inviting individuals to speak to specific articles. So I do feel that overall, the select board, town manager has covered that precinct. But again, I know they're going to be asking specific individuals to attend future meetings for that caucus.
Thank you. Mr. Canty, I know that you're presenting to many of these caucuses for an article that the board is sponsoring regarding a special account for Chapter 61 properties. Have you been to caucuses yet?
So I have been to Precinct 17 once to talk about it, but that was like they meet more regularly. So I just had a free evening and talked to them while I was down there. I'm recording audio. We're doing a video for Article 6 as well tomorrow that we can then present, and I'll be in front of the COPC this Thursday. But I think it would be, it's particularly as the town manager points out, with some of them occurring simultaneously and different caucuses having different processes and procedures. Some will let you present out of order so you can get to your next caucus, as Mr. Cohan is intimately familiar with, and others like to take the items up in the order of their choosing or the order they're listed. So it's easier to sort of divide and cover than it is to have one person running around like a chicken with their head cut off. So if we could divide the labor up, it would be easier. So I would propose that would be preferable. I am committed to go to as many of them as I am able to do so, because I think Article 6 is important, as well as just being there to answer other questions they may have for board members while we're in the room. So those are my general comments, and I'm certainly available. I'm certainly willing and able to pitch in as much as I am able, but assistance would be preferable.
Well, agreed, first of all. So the list that's in front of you folks is is by caucus. Are you going to pull it up, Jade? Is that what the request is? All right.
Did you?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay.
So this is by caucus, not by date. So we can go through this and see if folks are available. We can tentatively slot people in. Or alternatively, we could allow some time for folks to look at their schedules and to report to myself and the town manager when they intend to be at caucuses. I'll follow the will of the board.
Yeah.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes, it would be nice to look at that in relation to my calendar and then email the chairman or the town manager, CC the town manager on the ones I can attend. And I'm more than happy to give people pointers on how to attend 2 caucuses simultaneously.
I think Mr. Cohen plans to be at every single one of these caucuses, so I'm not sure that he's actually looking at his schedule. Mr. Quintal, did you have something to add? No. Nope, okay. Ms. Iaquinto?
So, Mr. Golden, just to be clarified, the goal would be to try to have a select board member at least one select
As
board
many
member
as
at each of those.
Yeah.
And then to support the article that Mr. Canty is putting forth as well, so to be able to cover for him at the meetings that he's not able to attend, so.
Well, he has a video that will be presented
Right.
at, I believe, all the caucuses.
Once it's available.
Yeah.
It won't be available at some of them because of when they're scheduled, but, so, I guess more broadly, this particular time, we only have the one article, but at different times, we may have multiple articles, probably multiple board members, or we may have articles that are applicable to the board as an entity. For example, in April, we'll have our budget, which is important to the board because it facilitates and effectuates many of our goals. So I guess my thought would be that although it's relatively light, you can be there and answer questions on other issues while you're there, but it would be beneficial if sort of the understanding was, Article 6 was unanimously supported, so there's not a lot of controversy there. But let's say it was a 3-2 vote. If you're going to be at a caucus with an article that's a board article, and it's a 3-2 vote and you're one of the 2, as an individual elected official, you don't necessarily have to carry the water for the 3 you voted against, but it would be nice if there was an expectation that you don't actively speak against the majority of the board. So, and then if you're directly asked a question like, hey, Ms. Iaquinto, why were you against that? Then you could be like, well, for this reason. But you're not proactively, because I guess you don't want to have a situation where you can't trust each other to go and advocate and explain, because you're really there to inform them. We have our say at the meetings, and this is really just about educating folks so they can reach a decision themselves and answer questions for them. That's how I see it. So if we established an expectation that if you are representing the board at a caucus, you're either there to support board articles or at least not to proactively speak against them, that would be nice. And I think that would be desirable and sustainable. Whereas because otherwise it's kind of, then we got 2 board members coming to a meeting and one of us is talking against the other, and I don't think that does anybody any favors. So, and I think in terms of scheduling, maybe if we sent an email that was all the ones we could attend, and then that's put up there of people are available, and then we could, because you can coordinate outside of a meeting without violating the open meeting law about scheduling issues. So it's not really, it's not an open meeting law violation for us to do this over an email, but those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, I would agree, and I think that's been pretty standard for us, at least on the prior board that I sat on. And you and I have run around many of these caucuses, sometimes across town. So I think it would be appreciated if other folks could join in. So why don't we do this? Since, as Mr. Canty mentioned, there's no open meeting law violation. We could each circulate dates that were available, and we'll coordinate a schedule and put it back out to the board to let folks know where they fall. Does that work?
Yes.
Anyone in objection?
Just to clarify, when I get back to the chair and the town manager, CC the other board members on the dates I can do?
That's fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right, just want to make sure.
Any further discussion on the matter?
Well, I guess, does anybody have an issue with the idea, I don't think you do, but does anybody else have an issue with the idea of if you're there, you would either support the board position or not actively speak against it? Is that a reasonable
Yeah,
conduct?
unless asked about your position.
Right.
think that's reasonable.
All depends on the question.
Yeah, I mean, if you're asked a question about your opinion, I think it's completely fair to give it. Okay, all right. Very good. Well, that concludes our agenda proper. We're now moving into the public comment section. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak under public comment in the room? Come on up, Mr. Lantang.
Good evening, Select Board members and management. I'm Steve Lantang from Precinct 10 and a member of the Airport CAC, but I'm here tonight as a resident. I just feel, as many residents feel, the Airport Commission's misleading information, lack of transparency, and lack of empathy continues. Just recently, the Airport Commission would not share any information with the CAC about any warrants that they may submit this fall before they submitted them. I feel their lack of transparency has only grown darker over these last 2 years. They treat the residents with contempt as well as belittling them if they speak up with the concerns of the airport meeting. Most residents that I have talked to over the last 2 years do not have any confidence that the Airport Commission or manager is looking out for what is the best interest of the town or the residents. I am new at all these town-related activities, and I may be naive, but what other town enterprise conducts themselves with their actions adversely impacting the residents' quality of life and have a detriment to the town and the residents' financial well-being? For me, the Airport CAC for over 7 months has been a very disappointing and disheartening experience. Myself and others waited over a year for the Airport CAC to be formed, only to have it filled with people that have ties or special interests or conflicts of interest related to the airport activities. There has been no accomplishments in regard to reaching out to the residents. No CAC email has been created where residents can send their concerns to. To take back our Plymouth Airport list that you've all received over this past year has not even made it to the agenda after 7 months. For me, the only positive thing that has happened at the CAC, that the truth came out about the expansion. The chair of the CAC asked the engineering firm, Du Bois & King, what if the residents let you extend the airport to 4,999 feet? And the answer was no, that doesn't work for them. The insurance companies require 5,000 feet to let the private jets come to airports. And he said, if we don't get 5,000 feet, we can't do the project. Also, when asked, how is it safer for residents if jets could carry more fuel if the expansion happens? And their answer was, it is safer for the pilots because with the runway extension, they can carry more fuel and they won't have to re-land somewhere else to refuel before they go to their destination. Over the last 2 years, the other thing that became obvious is the Airports Commission's demeanor and disdain for the residents. How town-appointed representatives are allowed to treat the residents with dismissiveness and disrespect has been an eye-opening experience to me and discourages many residents from getting up there and putting themselves in front of that. The Airport Commission has stated that they do not anticipate the reconstruction of the runway will increase aircraft traffic. The same thing they had been saying about the runway extension for many years. As all of you know, the storyline has been that the runway extension was all about increasing safety and nothing to do with the jets.
Mr.
It was
Lantang,
stated by a
you've
flight...
exceeded 3 minutes. How much time do you need?
21 seconds?
Go ahead.
It was stated by a flight school trainer from another town, a member of the Airport CAC, that currently surrounding airports, training flights, come to Plymouth Airport to do their training because it's an ideal airport for do training, including all the touch and goes. And with that, they do not make, town doesn't make money for touch and goes from these outside flight trainings, nor does the town make any money for the based aircraft to do all the touch and goes. It's all for free, and the residents take the brunt of it. Many residents, along with myself, are against anything that could have the potential of increasing additional aircraft flying over our backyards, just like the runway extension would do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Brown? Sorry, did I get your name right? Oh, sorry.
Kate Sakarik.
Sakarik.
Precinct 3. So my heart is always full when I see promotions and additions to the Plymouth Police Department. And Mr. Chairman, a couple of weeks ago, you had mentioned that one of your priorities for this board and going forward was safety, which I took note of because we've had a lot of issues locally. We've had some doozies this year, and also nationally some absolute heartbreaking things. And every time I turn on a device, it seems like something else has happened. So I am concerned, as you are, about our blind spots. You know, are we safe? Are the kids safe at school? You know, are our soft targets, are we fully covered? Parades and large gatherings, houses of worship. Are we safe here when we come to discuss different ideas and viewpoints? You know, it has me thinking, to the point where, you know, after the home invasion last month, you know, a friend of mine actually got me pepper spray because I like to sleep in my first floor bedroom with my window open and the screen, and I'm right at, you know, a level where anybody could just walk right up, and I'm downtown and I live alone. So I'm glad that that's on your agenda, and I look forward to hearing more from the police chief and hiring more police officers. And I say, you know, that's a budget that's well worth spending money on. And I would like to go and attend some meetings in the neighborhood, the North Plymouth neighborhood, because I actually have some insider information about private jets that I would love to share with you. And it's not all happy and nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Mr. Malaguti?
Evan Malaguti, Precinct 2. I would just like to bring up to the board again, I mentioned a few weeks ago, and I believe Ms. Iaquinto did a couple weeks ago at the Manamet meeting, of having the board have another attendance by the representatives of Eversource, because we have, starting roughly a month from now, the next increase, especially for gas customers, of roughly 13 to 18%, depending on what the DPU decides. So we are going to be having another high billing season again, and what Eversource is going to be doing to curtail those, especially since their competitor, National Grid, is 4 times lower at their ask for the increase for that. So we need to figure out why they, for 30% less customers that they service in National Grid, why it's a 4 times increase for that, but also what they're actually doing to better their infrastructure, billing prices, and their transparency. That has been the basically Piedmont of the entire energy predicament over this past year to 18 months. And I would like to forward, as the former chair and vice chair of the Energy Committee, that I will be happy to provide anything that I can as well too in this effort, because I believe that not just the transparency for the residents, but also the municipality as a whole, that we need to better grapple with the demands that we face for energy, but also the demands that we demand on our energy providers as well too. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the audience? Please introduce yourself.
Hi, yes, I'm Alex Cook, and I live at 35 Prince Street in Plymouth. I believe that's Precinct 2. This is my first time speaking here. I've lived in that neighborhood for 15 years now. I lived about 1,000 yards up the street, and we just moved into this new home at the end of Prince Street, and I'm sure you know about the 40B development that's happening there. I did speak at the ZBA. I did reach out to this board by email and filed a letter with you. I heard back from Derek, who had mentioned I should speak at the ZBA, which I intend to go to those meetings as well, but I understand the ZBA is expecting a sort of a written report from the Board of Selectmen. I believe they're expecting a similar report from the Planning Board. I spoke there a week before last night, and I found it odd that they haven't received any comments from the Board of Selectmen, the Planning Board, or the North Plymouth Steering Committee. Apparently, I'm not well-versed on this sort of thing, so I don't know how it works, but I'm just here to quickly touch on an issue specific to my wife and I in our home. We live at the end of Prince Street, which is a dead-end street, and this development is for 3 different buildings. One of those buildings is right across the street from us, and this hairpin turn, it turns right across the street and goes down into a valley. And when those vehicles exit the valley, the headlights will go right onto the entire front of our house, including the second story of our home. And obviously, that's a big concern of ours. We've been in close contact with the developer. We want to believe they're benevolent, but we don't know. So now we're kind of going formally on the record, and I'm just here to look for the board's support if and when you do draft that sort of official memo to the ZBA, if you could please mention our specific circumstance. The developer has promised twice over email and a few conversations to move that turn. So I've provided those emails to you. The only other sort of quick comments I have is we had talked to the developer about moving that turn further towards the bike path because they do own that land. They shared some concerns about the cost of fill and building a retaining wall. The other thing that we feel that would be a much better solution to this is to route that driveway through Hedge Road. I understand there's been many comments about traffic on Hedge Road, but I think a full-blown traffic light at the end of Hedge Road would really alleviate a lot of those issues. That's sort of all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room who wishes to register a public comment? Is there anyone online? Ms. Sheehan, I believe?
Yes, thank you for the opportunity to.
Ms. Sheehan, could you get closer to the microphone, please?
Thank you. Can you hear me?
A bit better. If you could get closer, that would be great.
I'm as close as I can get.
We hear you loud and clear now.
Okay, great. Meg Sheehan, longtime Plymouth resident and taxpayer. I want to address 4 quick points. First, regarding the earth removal committee that you discussed this evening and hiring a consultant. This committee should be independent of all of the town boards, committees, and staff that have been granting the earth removal permits for decades. There are about 30 or so permits that they're responsible for overseeing the closure and the ongoing operation, which does not appear to be happening at many of the sites. So anyone that's been involved in granting these permits, overseeing them, that includes the director of planning, the town manager's office, they should not be involved in any way on this committee or in the selection of a consultant to do any of the work. Secondly, regarding the airport, the conditions are clearly a public nuisance. You've been hearing about this for over 2 years, starting with the petition to form the community advisory committee, which has turned out to be less than optimal in helping the residents to deal with these issues. The airport commissioners are responsible for these harms. The select board appoints the commissioners, and you need to hold them accountable. The airport operates on land owned by the taxpayers. The town should undertake a complete audit of who owns the land and who is responsible for what, and what businesses are operating at the airport and who is profiting from these various airport businesses that are harming the residents. Third, as to the town meeting warrant article 26, which urges the select board to prohibit town employees from working for the Plymouth Foundation, the moderator's out-of-order ruling can be overturned by a 2/3 vote of the town meeting, and a motion will be made at town meeting to overturn that out-of-order ruling. The residents deserve to have a vote on Article 26. Finally, on October 7th, Wednesday, at the Plymouth Conservation Commission, there will be a public meeting on earth removal and wetlands at a site owned by A.D. Makepeace in southwest Plymouth in the Frogfoot Brook area. Community Land and Water Coalition has filed a request for a determination of applicability that A.D. Makepeace has conducted unlawful filling and altering of wetlands in connection with an earth removal there, according to maps and scientific information. The total area covers about 30 acres, and the area of filling that is of concern is about 6 acres. That the public meeting and the information is available from the Conservation Commission, and we urge the public to get informed and find out more. Anyone with questions about any of this can contact me at meg@communitylandandwatercoalition.org. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on Zoom? One last time for public comment? All right, we'll move on. Thank you. We'll move on to the town manager's update.
Okay, so I'm going to turn over the town manager's report to our assistant town manager, Sylvia Janeo. But before I do, I just wanted to alert the board that today I spent most of today at the Music Hall in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So myself, Steve Cole, who's the director of the foundation, Economic Development Foundation, Michelle Brady, who's our Commissioner of Health and Human Services and oversees our Memorial Hall, and Leanna Patton, who is also serves as the chair's representative on the foundation, took a trip to the Music Hall. Part of this trip was to learn more about the business model that the folks at the Music Hall implement and operationalize. They have an extremely successful program. They grossed over $11 million of revenue up at the Music Hall. So this is our first stop amongst many stops, so that we can gather the appropriate information for the select board first and for the community second, so we can start to have informed discussions about the future of Memorial Hall. So more to come on this, but I just wanted the board to know that we're actively doing that research and that analysis, so we can provide you with the information that you need to make that decision moving forward. And then before I turn over to Sylvia, I just wanted to address the gentleman's concerns relative to the proposed Pulte project over at Hedge Road. So I want the folks to be aware that the Pulte, the developer, they submitted their comprehensive permit application for the 40B project for 163 units up in North Plymouth. The Select Board, as you recall, did send a letter to the state asking the state to deny this application for this 40B project. The state has continued to move forward with allowing Pulte to go through the permitting process. That permitting process at the local level takes place only with the ZBA. And so I just want the gentleman to be aware that the Select Board does not have any input other than what you've already done, submitting that request to deny the application, and all discussions relative to this 40B project will take place with the ZBA. So I'm going to turn over the remainder of the report to Mr. Janeo.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Just have a couple of updates on what's going on around town. First one is the project that Jenny Gristmill continues with some minor concrete work that occurred today, some large tree management that's happening tomorrow, and utility relocation work that's happening next week. And we will continue to provide updates on this important project to the board as things continue to progress. We would like to also announce that the town now has brought on board an energy advocate that's working in the Department of Energy and Environment. This is a grant-funded position that is tasked with assisting the public on participating in the Mass Safe program with a specific focus on outreach to priority groups such as renters, landlords, and moderate-income households. The energy advocate will be at the library every Wednesday from 2 to 6 p.m., so please make sure to stop by if you have any questions regarding the Mass Save program. Continuing on, this Saturday was the first day of the Town of Plymouth Swap Shop, and we would like to announce that it was a big success. A large amount of folks came in to drop off items and picked up items that were in good shape and would have otherwise ended up on our waste stream. So we would like to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Ken Stone, the Recycling Committee, and the volunteers who helped make the swap shop a reality. On a construction update, the contractor for the Route 80 sidewalk project will start the prep work next week. We are expecting the work to take about 4 months, so the contractor will break for the winter and complete the work during the spring of 2026 construction season. Moving on to the police department, after a long and very detailed process, we would like to announce that the Plymouth Police Department has successfully concluded the reassessment for accreditation process and will officially be receiving its accreditation in Marlborough on October 29th. Pursuing reaccreditation requires a big commitment to ensure that our police department is delivering services to our community at the highest level of professionalism and integrity. So we would like to thank all the members of the police department and for their efforts in achieving this great goal. And last but not least, we would like to announce a couple of employee retirements. The first one is Mr. Jim McGill, who worked as a pump station operator for the DPW and retired after more than 19 years with the town. And the second one is known to a lot of folks who work here in Town Hall, is Ms. Jill Candola, who was the assistant tax collector and retired after 22 years with the town. We would like to thank both Jim and Jill for their service to the town and wish them the best in their next endeavor. Pending any questions for the board, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for either the town manager or the assistant town manager? Mr. Canty?
So, Mr. Janau, thank you for the detailed update. The Route 80 sidewalks, I'm glad that they're going forward, but that's been a long time since that was approved. Was there any particular reason that it took as long as it did that we could articulate just for people to know? Because I know like the residents were very passionate about that town meeting article, and then it kind of, I just don't want them to think that it just sat on the vine for no good reason. I'm sure there was a good reason, but articulating it may be beneficial.
Sure. So there were actually a couple reasons, and certainly don't like to make excuses, but the first one is an excuse. So as you know, we haven't had a town engineer for over 3.5 years. We just last week appointed Mr. Rick Bossy as our permanent town engineer. Prior to that, we didn't have a town engineer. Mr. James Downey, who was our transportation engineer during the time when this article was approved, had then been promoted to the assistant DPW director. So for a large part of almost 2 years, we didn't have a transportation engineer, we didn't have a town engineer. So many of our transportation projects, in particular the one we talked about a few months ago about the thickly settled zones, those types of projects were really put on the back burner. So that was the initial cause of the delay. And then once we came to full staffing, we had to work with state Mass DOT. This is a state highway, and so we had to go through their permitting process in order to begin the construction.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Any other questions? Mr. Cohen?
Yes, I just wanted to, I know I will update the board. This is more of old business, is that okay?
Questions for the town manager? or the
Town
assistant
manager, okay.
No other questions? All right. We'll move on in the agenda to select board discussion. We'll start with new business first. Mr. Canty, then Ms. Iaquinta.
So in regards to new business, I know that the town unfortunately didn't get the grant that we were hoping for in regards to the downtown resiliency project, which I know is a core component of not just some downtown economic development aspirations, but also the climate action and adaptability plan. So I would like us to add, particularly as we go into budget season, over the fall in preparation for this spring town meeting, I would like to have Mike Cahill and David Gould come in and talk about the climate action and adaptability plan so that we can go through it and identify some areas that we can incorporate into the budgetary process and thinking for FY26 in light of that grant falling through, because that was our near-term plans. I think that will help us to move Plymouth forward in regards to sustainability and resiliency as the climate continues to change. So I would ask that we add that to a future agenda in the near future so that we can review that. I would also, obviously, we have heard further stories about ICE activity in Plymouth, and there are limited things that we can do about federal officers enforcing federal law within our community. But I would like to add to a future agenda, I'd like to have the chief of police come in to talk about the concerns in the community, particularly in relation to the manner in which ICE is operating, their level of communication with local officials, as well as disturbing reports such as them abandoning a vehicle in a busy intersection, as well as a near accident that I personally witnessed only a couple weeks earlier at that same intersection, where their officials did not adequately give notice to people following a green light and just went through an intersection. I think that their activities are creating significant public safety concerns that all members of the community should be interested in, regardless of your opinion on national immigration issues. And I think that it would be beneficial to have the chief of police come in to discuss our ability to liaise with ICE, as well as our ongoing activities and interactions with ICE, so that we can get clarity for residents on those particular issues. So I would ask that both of those items be added to a future agenda in the near term.
Thank you. We can talk about getting those on the agenda. Other new business? Ms. Iaquinto?
So the board reorganized 2 weeks ago, as we all know, and that was a significant change that wasn't easy for any of us, or our staff, or the residents. But I was looking at it as an opportunity to reset and strengthen how we come together and work together as a team, as a board. So I just wanted to share that we've all agreed to come together in an off-site workshop on October 21st to revise and update our policies and procedures, which have not been updated since 1995, which is a very long time ago. So I really think that this is going to be a great opportunity for us to reflect on best practices and to address some of the concerns that brought us here, so that we don't repeat this going forward. So I'm very excited about that. Mr. Cohan has agreed to work with me on the structure of the meeting, which we'll then share with our other colleagues. And with Mr. Brindisi, I'm going to be relying on you too to help us pull that whole thing together. But I'm really looking forward to this being a very collaborative process. All perspectives will be represented, and in the end, we'll have a work product that will help set expectations for us as how we govern ourselves and how we work together, how we communicate with each other and with the residents. So I'm very excited that we're all coming together. So more to come on that, but that'll be happening on October 21st in lieu of our regularly scheduled select board meeting. So thank you all for agreeing to do that.
And thank you for taking a leadership role in this, to both of you. Any other new business? Mr. Quintal? Mr. Cohen?
Kind of new but old in some ways. Jenny Pond is moving along very nicely. Obviously, it is a culmination of nearly 25 years of effort on the behalf of Dave Gould in the Department of Energy and Environment in bringing back our town brook. Obviously, a lot of logistical things going on at that location. There is a parking lot there, and Dave has been working to make sure that the on-site activities are moving along nicely, but at the same time, the access to the location exists at a level that the property owners on Spring Lane are still able to get to and from their property. There is a little restaurant there, and we need to do what we can to help that effort on the part of the town to do what we can to make sure that people know that the restaurant is still there, it's still operating, people can still go to the restaurant at Jenny Gristmill. So whatever we can do to help Dave's office in that would be great. The other thing I wanted to just briefly talk about is Taylor Ave, 54 Taylor Ave. We've had a chance to speak with the town manager a number of times, and we're moving ahead trying to come back to the board and to the village of Manomet that we just had a meeting at about the plans there to make that site more appropriate to the neighborhood standards. And then I'd also like to just touch briefly on Memorial Hall. We're doing a lot of research, which is great news. Obviously, if town meeting does vote for this article, we'll be doing an RFP, and maybe some of the things that you're learning can be interjected in the RFP process. So when we put out this research to be done, that we're touching on some of the things that you're finding out at other locations and how they tackled their issues when it came to modernizing their facilities. So that would be great. Along with, I'm not sure who I would approach about this, but the Plymouth Philharmonic, obviously celebrating almost 100 years of service to the town of Plymouth, is no longer performing at Memorial Hall. They're performing at South High School, and I was trying to get a handle on the policies that might be happening at Memorial Hall that are may or may not be affecting where they perform, because I think it's very, very important that the Plymouth Phil play in downtown, play in Memorial Hall. People come to town to see the Phil and have dinner, and obviously we want to see that activity continue. Anything we can do to help the businesses in downtown Plymouth. So I was just curious if there's a change of policy there that has led to something that we might want to revisit. Just to comment on the drop-off pickup, it's a lot of fun. Thanks, Ken, for the recycling committee and all the work that you're doing to create this drop-off pickup place. I went down and dropped things off, but I'm now a proud owner of a winding clock that chimes on the hour. So very excited about that find. But I also wanted to take time to recognize on September 21st, here in the town of Plymouth, was International Day of Peace celebration. We had a very nice event at the 1820 courtroom. It was to honor Dick Gregory and Lillian Gregory here in the town of Plymouth. Residents here in the town of Plymouth, very active in obviously the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 60s and 70s. And so it was a time to not only embrace this idea that Plymouth will be known as an International Day of Peace, and that will be celebrated every September 21st here in the town of Plymouth in memory of Richard Quintal and his wife, who still lives here in town, Lillian Gregory. I'll pass down a series of citations that were presented by the Select Board by the Governor of Massachusetts to the family, to the town and the family. So these are citations that are presented here by the Senate, these in the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. These are citations that were given to the town of Plymouth as a result of us being the first town in Massachusetts to embrace this International Day of Peace, and Plymouth being one of those towns that is participating. So I just wanted to let my fellow board members know PAC Television was there, and they hope to rebroadcast that event. It would be interesting for people to watch that, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Any other new business? Mr. Quintal?
Have a few things. I had the opportunity to sit with Bob Johnson from BID over several topics. One of them being the expansion at BID. So we got to talking, and I asked him if he'd be interested in coming before our board to share what's going on at BID, because there's been a lot of concern, emergency room wait, so on and so forth. Just some of the things that he told me was they're tripling the size of the emergency room. Should take it to the year, I believe he said 2050. 250 bed tower. They're moving the chemical infusion department to Cottage Park. And the reason for that, it's within 30 miles of the mothership, and which will give them a 40% discount on their chemical drugs, treatments, cancer treatments, and so on and so forth. So there'll be expansion over to Cottage Park. The bed, the emergency room, and the existing emergency room, if I get it right, will be mental health rooms, which we desperately need. Needless to say, we already heard that tonight from other people. So it's exciting. I'm going to help them out on a personal level, but I also want them to come in, because I think the community and Casey should promote what they're doing, in the community, because I think the community will be very excited about it. It's all positive stuff. And I think the expansion's about $200 million, and they needed to raise he needed to raise almost 10, and he's at 8.9, so they're very close to meeting their goals, and it's very exciting. I learned a lot, and I would like to share that with the community. If you so see fit, he'll come in. I can give you his contact information. The second thing I want to just touch on is the Pulte 40B. You saw the gentleman in the audience. I don't know, there he is. He's Mr. Cook. He's here. I did the walkthrough. I think Bill was at the walkthrough that day when the state was in town. There's definitely got to be some discussion and input at this level, more than just a letter of, asking for a refusal or whatever it might be. Bill and I were speaking about it, and Bill brought up a good point. The Cottage Park is a 40R. It abuts that, and that's one argument, and I definitely agree with this gentleman. Prince Street is not going to be able to handle that. I mean, I went at it with the guy when he was here that night before we got to the 40B stage. And if the reason is being, it's too expensive, there's wetlands, you know what? Too bad. We didn't ask you to come put all those units there. We need to take a stand. And you know what? If it costs a few dollars, then let's spend them, because we spend money on a lot of things that I think we shouldn't. But you know what? When it comes to the residents, we all need to be on the front line and do their understanding. So, I mean, I could go on, but I'm not going to. What I really would like is to invite them right in, and let's have a little chat about traffic again. I welcome that. And Prince Street, if you all take a ride down there, if nobody has, you'll see this gentleman's house on the right at the end. It's a White House, I believe. Actually, you got a little movie now, huh? You're moving up. Universal, a little movie, the little YouTube we got, that's pretty good. But it explains it, and anybody that knows the intersection, and I think you know it too, Kevin, you can't, it's not going to work. So why they're not going down Hedge Road? You know what, if it costs more money, well, the way I look at it, a little less in your pocket, go down Hedge Road. And if not, let's fight them on it. We're not just going to let them walk all over us. It's time we started to do, to do it. And there's not a lot of people on the street, I'll give you that, but that's still not the reason. We have affordable housing on the street, if you will, senior housing. So it needs to come back, and I know the steering committee is looking at it, but I think it needs to be at this level. I know Bill has a lot of background in it, and have a discussion on it. So that's that one. The next one, we got an email from Mark Pothier, and he's asking about some questions about Mr. Berkeley family and the Memorials Committee. So long story short here, our Memorials Committee is missing some members. It's not active. So I guess my question is, in fairness to the family, so they can get an answer, Can we re-advertise this committee? I just don't know what the answer is, but I don't want it to think like the family's feeling that they can't get an answer for what they're trying to do, or even where it is, if they already got an answer, I don't even know.
Yeah, that committee is actually without a quorum now that we have.
Right.
One of the members who we discussed tonight has not been sworn in still, so I believe they only have 2 active members at this point. So we do need to re-advertise. We need to revisit the policy on that as well.
So maybe we can
get that on an agenda.
When you can.
Yeah.
So that, you know, the family knows which direction they're going.
Yep.
Or anybody that's got an application in. I don't know how many applications might be in, maybe none. And then the last 2 things is in the industrial park, and I did send an email to Bill Coyle, the directory boards, and I understand it might be private property. I know it's an association. But years ago, we always had, it was in Mr. Hartman's office, money for graffiti removal. Now,
We still do.
do we still
Yes.
do it?
Yep.
Okay. So the question is, every time I drive to, you know, into work and out of work, I see it, and I don't mind cleaning it myself. But if the town can't do it, I mean, I know if you get permission, I think we can do it. And I thought that's what the money was for.
So we have a task force focused on graffiti. If it's public property, we have our Parks Division go out there and clean up the graffiti. If it's private property, to your point, we refer it to the Planning Department, actually the Community Development Division. They have a special account where they can pay an outside contractor to go and clean the property, with the permission of the property owner, of course.
Could someone just pop me maybe an email or something, just see what they can do, because it's, you know, here it is.
Do we, what's the property?
Industrial park, the directory boards are all graffitied, so you can't even see, you know. There's a directory at each end of the park, Derek.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Industrial Parkway. And the last question is, this is a nice one, Water Street. Are we going to have an update, or are the businesses going to have an update when we go in to fix the sewer line?
As
I know it's getting
soon
close.
as we have a commitment
Okay.
from the contractor, we will be informing certainly the businesses and the community at large.
Okay, because that's my main concern, that we have the meeting, and I'd like to.
We've
attend
had
that.
prior commitments from the contractor,
Okay.
and we then went public with it, and then they failed to show. So we continue to work with the contractor to find a firm date.
All right, Derek. Okay, so you got it, it's moving, well, it's on your radar.
It's definitely on our radar.
Okay,
Yes.
that's fine. And then the last thing, only because Mr. Canty brought it up, was the ice. Mr. Canty's correct. I have pictures of cars in my phone, some as early as this morning on Court Street. They stay at the Hilton Hotel up at the New Tokyo. That's where they're stationed. The police chiefs have told me in the past that, out of courtesy, they usually notify the chief or the department that they're in town and what they'll be doing. And the chief has already told us that unless it's criminal, you know, they're not going to get into civil, you know, that's the only time they would get called in if they needed assistance. So I believe that's what we're going to what we're going to hear. I know that they're scared to death out there that by us bringing it up and making an ordeal, is it going to be worse? Because the way this country is right now, and I'll say it, that seems to be the way it goes. You know, give you an example. Mayor Wu in Boston, who I admire dearly. I think she does a great job, and that's just my opinion. However, that being said, she's not afraid to speak her piece on this matter. So every time that I watch the news and I see that she does this, I see that they have more raids. And then they even get on television and tell her they're coming. And then they're going to be there tomorrow, and they haven't seen nothing yet. I mean, so that's the reason I haven't done anything publicly with it and said anything in with the police chief's, you know, recommendations. And the last thing I want to see, and I'm going to be totally honest, is to have our police chief there and roast him, because I don't want to be no part of that if that's how it's going to end. I think we have to be very cautious what we ask them, just like in our school and our safety. You don't put your plans out there so the other side sees what we're, and I fully get where you're coming from. I mean, my phone's nonstop on the WhatsApp app, and believe me, they all know where they are, what time they're doing it, where they are. I mean, I can give you 2 months' worth, and I purposely haven't said anything because I think they'll just retaliate if we do. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I hope I am. But I just want to say that where you brought it up. I get where you're coming from, but I think we need to be extremely careful in this day and time of what we, ask our chief and what he can say. That's all.
Mr. Canty?
So I understand that line of thinking, and there are things, as I said at the beginning, that we can and can't control. We can't influence the enforcement of federal law as a policy in the municipality of Plymouth. They are going to continue to do what the administration wants them to do, whether we like that or not. But the manner and means in which they are conducting it is creating a concern for residents, and I think, in some instances, a threat to public safety for residents and visitors, regardless of their immigration status, as well as some of our officers. So I think the town has a legitimate interest in avenues that we can control. And I do think that there is a benefit in complaining when they don't meet basic standards that we should all be able to agree on, because otherwise you are assenting by your silence to some of the actions and activities that they are undertaking. We cannot control if a federal agency is going to conduct themselves in a vindictive way for complaining about basic decency and basic interagency relations. But if we, out of fear, do not do anything, I think we are doing, personally, a disservice to the community in the avenues that we can control. And I feel very strongly that we should have a conversation about what we can control. And I understand the chief's positions so far, and I believe that the chief is doing what the chief can do in some of those areas. And it's not the chief's failing or the Plymouth Police's failing. It's ICE. It's their failure. But we need to talk about it, and we need to do what we can to advocate for our residents, in my opinion. That's what I would like to see from that agenda item, is this board standing up for its people, regardless of where they're from. Because that's very important to me, is standing up for fundamental rights and fundamental values, and for public safety as a universal concept. So that's what I'm requesting.
If we have no jurisdiction over federal agencies, what are we going to accomplish by doing that?
We can talk about our ability to liaise. We can talk about...
We already know what that is.
We don't.
We've sat with, you haven't sat with the police chief upstairs in the fishbowl.
It's an ongoing situation, Mr. Quintal, and it requires...
I think we've already gone through this, but that's okay.
You may think that. I disagree.
All right, gentlemen.
And members of the
That's
community
enough. That's
want
enough.
individuals.
That's enough. We will discuss putting this on the agenda in the future. Is it about this? If it is, we're going to move on.
No, it's not about this.
All right.
But it is taking, Deb outlined her thought process, and I'll be working with her in terms of how we work together as a group. And I'm looking forward to that. And one of the things that we could think of is Habitat for Humanity does a project a day. We can do our workshop internally at Town Hall, but maybe we join forces together on site and volunteer a day at Habitat together. Because I've done that in a work capacity, and it really does bond people together. So
I love it.
So think of that as we move forward.
That'll
Thank
be
you.
the second workshop.
Amazing. I love it. Is there any other new business? Hearing and seeing none, are there any letters that folks would like to address? I do have one. I heard from a resident, Mr. Richard Cirque, also town meeting member, regarding the disposition of the fisherman shacks across the street from Burt's. And his suggestion is that we take up a discussion about whether or not those should be removed. I've spoken with the town manager about this. I will request that we put that on a future agenda after town meeting.
It's good to see Mr. Cirque expanding his radius of building removals from birds.
It's possible that this will not be the last that we see. I'm not going to entertain discussion on that matter.
No, I'm
at
just
this time.
saying, I look forward to the fishermen shanties being on the schedule, the future agenda, because it's a passion of mine.
I know it is.
And I want to see a level of preservation that we haven't seen happen in recent years.
We'll address this after town meeting. Any other letters? We can move on to old business. Ms. Iaquinto?
So, Mr. Malaguti, you were my warm-up act for my old business report, because, yes, a couple of weeks ago, I did ask if it was possible to do a community energy forum, and within 48 hours, Mike Cahill, our climate and resiliency and sustainability planner, had organized an initial meeting. So we met with we had a phone call with the state delegation and others, and we are planning a community forum that will discuss energy costs and conservation measures, which working on getting Eversource involved in that too. I think they're critical to the conversation. The state delegation will be involved. We can loop you in if you're interested. And we're targeting early to mid-November, and it will be to someplace probably not in Town Hall. We're looking at different venues for that to see what would work, but more to come on that, but it's in process.
Any other old business? Mr. Canty?
So at the Manomet on the road meeting, we had a request from myself and Mr. Cohan to add the land acknowledgement to a future agenda, and I was curious if that had been scheduled yet, and if so, when that will be.
Great question. It has not yet been scheduled. I've reached out, though, to Chairwoman Ferretti from the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe, and she and I are collaborating on schedules for us to meet in advance of scheduling anything for the agenda, so more to come on that.
Please keep me updated as those discussions continue.
Sure. Other old business? Good.
I was happy to see that e-bike discussion is going to be on the October 14th agenda. I was going to bring that up today because there was another serious accident on the Cape this past week involving an e-bike, and then continuing to see reports of from doctors and different police departments across the state who are all weighing in on how serious an issue that it really is. So, Mr. Brindisi, I hate to catch you because you're just walking back in, but what could we expect to hear at that meeting on the?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as you know, Town Council has been actively working on drafting special legislation for this. From our research, there's no other city or town that has legislation to regulate electric bikes or electric scooters. So a lot of research. This is one of the Select Board's goals for this past year, so a lot of research has been put into the legal aspect. But in addition to that, what you can expect is Commissioner Brady and her team from Health and Human Services will be presenting the why. So, why is this important? Looking at the data locally, some crash data from the police department, statewide as well, and even nationally. So we know that this is becoming just a national problem, these types of vehicles. So we will be presenting the data to hopefully help folks understand why this is such an emerging public health and public safety threat.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other old business? Hearing and seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn, having concluded our business.
Mr. Canty makes a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Iaquinto seconds. Any discussion? Mr. Cohan?
Aye.
Oh, yes. Mr. Quintal?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Ms. Iaquinto?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are adjourned.
When that final